Chapter 57:29. In particular, Lan Xiaoru had mercilessly rejected his two suggestions just now, which proved this point. If something happened to Lin Yi, the next one would probably be Brother De Feng's turn. The Central had always pursued the strategy of killing the wrong person rather than letting them go. The best outcome for him was to be sent as a test subject. At this time, Qin Dongqing sighed in his heart. To be honest, his heart was now more inclined towards Lin Yi. However, if Lin Yi was finished, he could only continue to follow the Central. It was just that Qin Dongqing was really a little afraid after seeing the Central's cold methods and stone-hearted methods. He felt that following the Central would not end well in the end. Outside, Lin Yi realized that the lightning attack was effective, so he immediately decided to use his strongest lightning-type martial art, lightning burial. Even though it was thousands of meters deep under the sea, when Lin Yi used lightning burial, it still attracted the clouds in the sky. In an instant, countless dark clouds gathered, and lightning crisscrossed among them, ready to strike at any time. In the Central Sanctuary Laboratory, the bespectacled doctor and Lan Xiaoru had turned on the attack control system at the same time and began to lock onto Lin Yi. They could launch a powerful super flame attack at any time. They could even imagine the scene of the blazing white flame beam instantly burning a vacuum waterway and completely annihilating Lin Yi. However, at this moment, Lin Yi smiled coldly. He raised his arm and swung it down, activating his strongest lightning-type martial art, lightning burial. Countless lightning bolts crossed the barrier between the sky and the sea, cutting through the dark deep-sea space at the speed of light, and descended on the entire central sanctuary. The bespectacled doctor and Lan Xiaoru's fingers had already pressed on the launch button, but the sudden attack of lightning burial caused the entire base's circuits and instruments to instantly malfunction. Whether it could be repaired or not, at least this time, the attack could not be launched in time. Damn it! The bespectacled doctor was paralyzed by the two electric arcs that jumped up from the console. He could only exclaim and take 2 steps back. Brother De Feng's eyes flashed. Now that the bespectacled doctor was less than half a step away from him, there was no time to think. He had already stretched out his hand, looking like he was going to help the bespectacled doctor. In fact, his palm directly passed through the bespectacled doctor's shoulder and grabbed the bespectacled doctor's throat like a ghost. Boss Lin Yi, De Feng, can only help you this much. You'll have to rely on yourself in the future. The corners of Brother De Feng's mouth curled up into a smile. There was a sense of duty in his heart. He did not hesitate to crush the bespectacled doctor's throat. If Lin Yi died, Dafeng Bro would die as well. If Lin Yi didn't die and the glasses doctor and Lan Xiaoru escaped, Dafeng Bro would still be in danger. So, Dafeng Bro made up his mind to get rid of one by one. If Qin Dongqing was not here, Brother De Feng might have considered taking the bespectacled doctor as a hostage. However, with Qin Dongqing, a supermaster in the early stage of profound ascension, he did not dare to take this risk. The difference in their levels was too great. Qin Dongqing's aura alone was enough to make him completely immobile. It was better to directly kill the bespectacled doctor and break one of his arms. After killing the bespectacled doctor, Brother De Feng closed his eyes and waited for death, ready for Qin Dongqing's revenge. Qin Dongqing did indeed rush over, but he did not pay attention to Brother De Feng at all. Instead, he avoided him and directly attacked Lan Xiaoru. The powerful qi was like a substance, easily penetrating Lan Xiaoru's heart. Since Qin Dongqing had already made his move, he did not have the slightest intention of holding back. After shattering Lan Xiaoru's heart, he waved his hand to the side. The qi broke out of Lan Xiaoru's body and cut half of Lan Xiaoru's body. Only a small part of her chest was still connected to her left shoulder. Lan Xiaoru fell to the ground like a broken sack. Brother De Feng felt that something was wrong. He opened his eyes in surprise and did not understand why this happened. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect it. You're the one who killed me. Lan Xiaoru, who had fallen to the ground, suddenly laughed strangely and spoke clearly. Qin Dongqing and Brother De Feng were both shocked. A normal person would have died a long time ago after suffering such a serious injury. Even a powerful cultivator would not be able to continue living. But this Lan Xiaoru could still speak? Are you surprised? To tell you the truth, it's impossible for you to kill me because I'm immortal. As Lan Xiaoru spoke, she propped up the broken body with both hands and tore off the part that had not been broken. As powerful as Qin Dongqing was, he could not help but be shocked by this terrifying scene. He did not know how to react for a while. No matter who it was, seeing a person with only a head, half of his chest, and 2 arms casually tearing his body apart on the ground, and then talking with a strange smile, they would have a creepy feeling. Qin Dongqing was no exception. On the contrary, Brother Defeng had been in the center for a long time. He had also been in the cyborg base, so his psychological endurance was stronger. He immediately pulled out a dagger and said fiercely, "Immortal? I can't kill you? Then I'll chop you up and feed you to the dogs. Let's see if you'll die or not." Seeing that Brother Defeng was about to rush over, Lan Xiaoru did not panic at all. Instead, she glanced at Brother Defeng disdainfully and said, "Is this all you're capable of? Do you only know how to deal with me in this state?" Brother Defeng was stunned. Although he did not feel embarrassed, after hearing what Lan Xiaoru said, he remembered that Lan Xiaoru in this state might be more useful to Lin Yi. Therefore, Brother Defeng simply put away the dagger and said, "Forget it. I'll keep you for a while. I'll deal with you later." "Ha ha ha ha, Dafeng. I knew you were a traitor a long time ago, and I wanted to keep you alive for a while to deal with you later, just to numb Lin Yi's senses. I didn't think you'd be so smart, seizing the perfect opportunity to betray me. Now I'll let you keep me alive for a while. Not bad, not bad. We're even now. The next time you fall into my hands, you can just wait for death," Lan Xiaoru said with a laugh. She was not afraid at all. Chapter 5730. What key training target? Is it a guinea pig for key experiments? Qin Dongqing interrupted Lan Xiaoru's words and sneered. "If the center really values me, they would have removed the poison in my body by now. Is this why you betrayed us? If you mend your ways now and kill Dafeng, I can let bygones be bygones. I can also promise to remove the poison in your body for you. What do you think?" Lan Xiaoru said faintly. However, the conditions she stated made Big Brother Dafeng extremely shocked. If Qin Dongqing agreed to it, then he would be finished. Fortunately, Qin Dongqing did not waver at all. He still sneered, "I don't think I'm a fool. Rather than believing a woman like you, I might as well believe in my own judgment. Since I made a move against you, there is absolutely no possibility of turning back." Lan Xiaoru didn't seem surprised at all. She even nodded slightly and said, "Sure enough. Since that's the case, you, Qin Dongqing, have become a target that our center must kill. I hope you can be mentally prepared. Offending the people from the center won't end well." "Is that so? Lin Yi's fate is really miserable," Qin Dongqing said disdainfully to Lan Xiaoru with a face full of ridicule. Looking at Lin Yi's lively appearance, Lan Xiaoru's words about offending the center would not end well was simply a joke. Big Brother Dafeng suddenly laughed. Lin Yi and the center were old rivals. From the secular world to the heavenly island, then to the ancient underworld, and back to the secular world. It seemed that Lin Yi had never suffered any losses in the confrontation between the two sides. Lan Xiaoru snorted and said, "You are right. Lin Yi's fate will be miserable in the end, and you two traitors will be 100 times more miserable than him." Mr. Lin Yi's fate would be miserable. At this time, he condensed another super alchemy firebomb and threw it at the sacred zone. The thunder burial just now did not damage much of the surface armor. At most, it left some small potholes and thick black scorch marks. However, it did not matter. The main purpose of the thunder burial was to destroy the circuits and instruments of the entire base. Now, only a thick tortoise shell was left in the central sanctuary. There was no energy to support the defense anymore. That was why Lin Yi didn't even use his strongest super alchemic firebomb this time. He only used an ordinary one, which was able to easily blast open the surface armor. Seeing the seawater instantly filling up the hole, Lin Yi suddenly realized that he could not destroy it like this. After all, Chang'e was still inside. Fortunately, this big hole was only a lift cabin. There were water insulation measures below, so it was not a big problem. Lin Yi entered, transformed into his essence soul state, and directly penetrated the alloy wall below. Without the first layer of defense and super flames, Lin Yi had no problem doing this. With a sweep of divine sense, Chang Yi's position clearly appeared in Lin Yi's sea of consciousness. It seemed that she had not suffered any injuries. This made Lin Yi greatly relieved. It was good that she was not injured. On the other side, Brother Defeng and Chen Dongqing stood together. The bespectacled doctor on the ground was already dead, and Lan Xiaoru's injuries were also very strange, which made Lin Yi a little curious. What's going on? Chen Dongqing also betrayed us? Lin Yi suddenly felt a little strange, but he had guessed the truth. He wanted to go and take a look now, but his primary goal was to rescue Cheng Yi. Anyway, Brother Defeng did not seem to be in danger. After a few flashes, Lin Yi appeared outside the room where Cheng Yi was imprisoned. He casually broke the lock outside, opened the door, and smiled. "Yi, your concert is not over yet. If you don't go back, your fans will ask you for a refund." Before she finished speaking, Cheng Yi directly threw herself into Lin Yi's arms and hugged Lin Yi tightly. She smiled happily. "Brother Lin, I knew you would come to save me. Sure enough, I didn't guess wrong. You really came." Feeling the exquisite and delicate body in his arms, Lin Yi smiled awkwardly. "I came a little late, and I made you suffer." "You're not late, Brother Lin. You came very quickly." Cheng Yi hooked her arms around Lin Yi's neck, raised her head, and said with a smile. That charming look really made Lin Yi a little moved. When Cheng Yi tried to seduce Lin Yi, he didn't care at all. But now, seeing Cheng Yi's true feelings, coupled with the confession that he didn't complete before, Lin Yi was really moved. "Okay, let's leave here first and go see the leaders in the center." Lin Yi smiled slightly. Now is not the time to talk about love. He patted Cheng Yi's back lightly and led her to Brother Defeng and the others. But before they got there, Lin Yi's consciousness discovered that Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong had sneakily boarded the UFO and were in a state of activation. Xue Jianfeng was originally unconscious, but Lin Yi's lightning burial sent a large amount of electricity into the circuit and woke him up. Because of the new potion, although Xue Jianfeng was slightly injured, he recovered immediately. After Xue Jianfeng woke up and realized the current situation, he did not think about such a boring thing as saving Lan Xiaoru, nor did he want to avenge the glasses doctor. Instead, he sneaked to the place where the UFO was parked, ready to escape from here. Although this guy had been genetically modified, he was still afraid of Lin Yi and didn't dare to fight Lin Yi at all. He was afraid that he would be killed by Lin Yi if he couldn't win. Of the 36 stratagems, escape was the best. He met Xiaolong, who had the same idea, and decided to bring him along. By the time Lin Yi noticed it, the ship had already activated its emergency escape system, ready to eject at a moment's notice. Even if Lin Yi wanted to stop them, he wouldn't be able to make it in time. He could only let the two cockroaches continue running. "Lin Yi, I'll come back for you. Now that I have an undying body, I'll be able to kill you when I get stronger, you bastard. Just you wait." Xue Jianfeng only dared to show off with his mouth, but his hands betrayed his cowardice. He quickly pressed the preset cruise route, and the UFO flew directly to the second base. Lin Yi shook his head as he felt the UFO leave. He didn't care about Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong anymore. They were just two small fries. It was no big deal if they ran away. Chapter 57:31. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go? The internet provides you with wonderful novels to read. Big Brother Defeng turned his head and bowed with joy. "Boss Lin Yi, you are here. The two leaders of the center are here. Unfortunately, this woman cannot be killed." Lin Yi did not care about Lan Xiaoru. He nodded to Big Brother Defeng and asked Chen Dongqing, "What do you mean by this?" "Martial uncle, this disciple wants to return to the sect." Chen Dongqing bowed respectfully and treated Lin Yi with the etiquette of a junior. "This Mr. Defeng is also Martial uncle's man, right? He can prove that this disciple is sincere. Just now, this disciple also participated in the killing." Big Brother Defeng quickly nodded and said, "Yes, Boss Lin Yi, I can prove that Chen Dongqing really helped. When I killed the bespectacled doctor just now, I was prepared to be killed by Chen Dongqing, but I didn't expect that not only did he not kill me, but he also attacked Lan Xiaoru. Otherwise, I would be dead now, and Lan Xiaoru would have run away." Lin Yi nodded and said with a slight smile, "You did a good job. Let's talk about this later. I will talk to Lan Xiaoru first." Lan Xiaoru snorted and said, Lin Yi, I didn't expect you to really kill your way here. I underestimated you. You are really not simple, but it doesn't matter. The outcome between us has not been decided yet. Boss, this woman is a biohuman. Her current injuries are not enough to kill her. Big brother Dafeng whispered in Lin Yi's ear. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently and said, What biohuman? I will blow her up and burn her to ashes. I don't believe she won't die. Lan Xiaoru laughed and said, Lin Yi, you are wrong. When I say immortal, I don't mean this body. This biohuman body is just a clone of my main body. You can do whatever you want with it. Anyway, it will not hinder my main body. As long as there are cells and genes, I can clone and regenerate infinitely. Remember, the center is eternal. This is just a base. Our battle has just begun. Then, see you next time. Lin Yi's expression changed. He directly waved his hand and sent Lan Xiaoru flying with his qi. At the same time, he continued to increase the amount of qi and wrapped her in it. With a boom, Lan Xiaoru self-destructed. Even Lin Yi's pure qi was almost unable to restrain her self-destruction. Fortunately, it was a close shave, and no one was hurt. This woman is really decisive. She's been talking nonsense with you guys for so long, just to wait for me to come over. Then, she wants to see if she can hurt me by self-detonating. It's a good thing that she wanted to wait for me to come over. Otherwise, the two of you would be in danger if you were caught off guard. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. He was a little more afraid of this enemy. He was scheming, capable, and had the support of the center's resources. He was not easy to deal with. Lin Yi suddenly felt a headache when he thought of such a difficult opponent who could be reborn infinitely. This matter was really not fun. He thought that he could get rid of the center this time, but it turned out to be such a result. Although it was not without gain, he still did not get rid of the big trouble. It was always trouble. Looking at the body of the glasses doctor on the ground, Lin Yi thought to himself, this guy can't also be a clone, right? If that's the case, then there's no end to it, boss. Fortunately, you came. Otherwise, this woman might have been impatient and self-destructed. Chen Dongqing may be fine, but it's hard to say for me, Dafeng. Seeing Lan Xiaoru exploding into a cloud of blood mist, Dafeng said with lingering fear. Chen Dongqing quickly said, this time, it's really thanks to Grandmaster. Otherwise, I would have been seriously injured if I was not prepared. With Chen Dongqing's strength in the early stage of profound ascension, even if he was not prepared, he would at most be slightly injured. This was completely to please Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded to Chen Dongqing and said, since you are sincere, I will not reject you. As long as you can do things to satisfy me, I will never treat you badly. Chen Dongqing was overjoyed and said, thank you, Martial Granduncle. I won't let you down. After that, Chen Dongqing looked at Lin Yi with hope. The main reason why he joined Lin Yi was that Lin Yi could cure the poison in the center. Otherwise, he really did not dare to betray the center. Lin Yi was certainly aware of this, so he waved to him and said, give me your hand. I will show you the poison in your body. Chen Dongqing was overjoyed. He did not expect Lin Yi to be so straightforward. He immediately ran over, bowed, and stretched out his hand for Lin Yi to check. As for detoxifying this poison, Lin Yi was already very familiar with it, and it was done very quickly. Chen Dongqing clearly felt his body relax, but he also knew who gave him his freedom, so he immediately cupped his fists and bowed. Kneeling on one knee, Master, this disciple will definitely go through fire and water for you in the future. I won't hesitate to do anything for you. If there's anything you want, this disciple will definitely complete it with my life. Lin Yi casually waved his hand and said faintly, helping you remove the poison is to repay you for letting Dafeng go. Although you said that you want to join me, I still can't believe you. Now, I will give you two choices. First, you can leave immediately and we will have nothing to do with each other. In any case, the poison in your body is gone. As long as you don't provoke me in the future, with your strength, there is no need to worry about not having a foothold in the immemorial era or in the secular world. Chen Dongqing was immediately moved. Being able to come and go freely seemed like a very good choice. If Lin Yi was not just testing him, then he could consider it. However, Lin Yi did not seem to be such a despicable person. In that case, what he said should be the truth. Lin Yi looked at the subtle changes on Chen Dongqing's face, and the corner of his mouth curved into a faint smile. He continued, "The second option is for you to follow me, but you have to take the poison I'll give you. Before you prove your loyalty, I won't give you the antidote. After all, you and I used to be enemies, and I won't let an enemy follow me easily. Do you understand what I mean?" Chen Dongqing was slightly startled. Of course, he understood what Lin Yi meant. Moreover, he felt that Lin Yi's method was not wrong. If it was him, he would do the same. The problem was that he had just removed the poison from his heart. Did he still have to accept Lin Yi's poison? What was the difference between that and the heart? He had already discovered the location of the submarine dock that was normally used by the center. The only problem was, could he activate the submarine in time? The laboratory was located in the middle of the base, while the dock was at the very edge of the base. With Lin Yi's speed, it would probably take him 20 seconds to reach there, leaving 30 seconds to activate the submarine and leave. The problem was that when Lin Yi was an assassin, the submarine piloting skills he had learned were already outdated. The center's latest model of submarine was even more advanced than the current world's most advanced ones, so he might not be able to start it. 57. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and still brought Cheng Yi and Defeng to the direction of the dock. Chen Dongqing followed closely behind Lin Yi. Previously, Lin Yi used his primordial spirit to penetrate the wall, but now that he was bringing people, he couldn't do that anymore. Therefore, the dock was the best choice to go out. Even if Lin Yi didn't know how to pilot this kind of submarine, he could only go there. Defeng, do you know how to pilot the center submarine? Lin Yi remembered that Defeng was also a high-ranking member of the base, so he asked casually. If he knew how to pilot it, it would be much easier. With the two of them working together, it would be much easier to pilot the submarine. Otherwise, even if they left the base, they wouldn't be able to return to land. Not to mention the impact of the depth of thousands of meters. Without the submarine, they would probably be trapped at sea. Yes, boss, I will. Defeng shouted loudly, afraid that Lin Yi couldn't hear him clearly. Lin Yi was overjoyed. It seemed that there was always a way. 40. There were only 40 seconds left before the explosion, and Lin Yi and the other three had arrived at the dock of the submarine. Along the way, Lin Yi used the super alchemic firebomb to open the way and rushed in a straight line. He really didn't waste any time and finally got a few more seconds of buffer. Boss, it will take at least 30 seconds to start and leave. We must get to the control room immediately. Defeng was also anxious. Who would be willing to die if they could live? It seemed that there was enough time, but it was also very tight. Lin Yi nodded to show that he understood. He appeared on the hatch of a submarine like lightning and reached out to open the hatch. As long as he entered, his chances of escaping would greatly increase. But just as Lin Yi's hand touched the door, it slid open on its own, and a dozen or so lasers shot out from within. Lin Yi was shocked. He transformed into his primordial spirit state and avoided the sudden attack. What's going on? Chen Dongqing's expression changed drastically. As he asked, he had already jumped up and used his fingers as a sword, shooting more than 10 sword chi into the hatch. Like Lin Yi, he had scanned these submarines with his divine sense, but he didn't find any enemies hiding on them. He felt a little baffled when he was suddenly attacked. The sword chi that Chen Dongqing shot out was like a clay ox entering the sea after entering the hatch. It didn't even make a splash. Lin Yi carefully scanned again with his divine sense and found that the automatic defense weapon in the submarine had been activated. It was probably because he had a problem with the way the hatch was opened, but he didn't have time to care about this now. A bolt of lightning was enough to deal with these defensive weapons. However, with this pause, the countdown had reached 38 seconds. 2 seconds had been wasted in vain. After dealing with the defense system at the hatch, Lin Yi was about to let Defeng enter the submarine to start it first. However, he discovered that 20 to 30 biohumans had woken up from the sealed metal cabin and quickly came to the entrance to ambush. Before they came out of the metal cabin, Lin Yi's divine sense couldn't detect them. It was too late now. 35 seconds. Chapter 57:33. Genius in 1 second. Remember Love Go? Talk. Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Let's go out. Linny made a prompt decision and stopped thinking about the submarine. If they entered the submarine but could not leave the base in the end, then they would really be looking for a coffin to sleep in. Although there would be trouble after leaving the base without the submarine, it was better than not being able to escape. Chun Dongqing naturally did not have any objections. He did whatever Lin Yi said. As for Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng, Lin Yi directly jumped into the reservoir where the submarine was docked. This was the only place in the base with seawater. After opening the partition, they could enter the bottom of the sea. If it was somewhere else, even if Lin Yi could break through the wall, he would be blocked by the endless seawater from the bottom of the sea for a while. 30 seconds. Lin Yi and the other three dived into the water. With the help of the directional explosion of the super fire bomb, they blew up the submarine's gate and swam smoothly into the deep sea. As soon as they left the base, Lin Yi took Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng to the surface at full speed. With the protection of his divine sense field, the two of them would not have any problems. However, the base below suddenly exploded. There were still 30 seconds, but the explosion happened just like that. Bastard. They even tampered with the countdown to the explosion. Big Brother Defeng cursed in the force field. Fortunately, Lin Yi did not insist on entering the submarine just now. Otherwise, he would have been buried in the base at this time. In that case, it was all thanks to the automatic defense system on the submarine. Without this system, Big Brother Defeng would have tried to start the submarine now. Lin Yi breathed out in relief as well. The Jade Space had given him a warning when the biohumans appeared, but it wasn't strong enough to be fatal. He didn't think much of it, and abandoning the submarine was a decision he made based on his judgment. He didn't think that he'd be able to avoid the explosion just like that. The explosion of the entire base was not fatal to Lin Yi, but it was hard to say for Cheng Yi and Brother Defeng. They were lucky to be able to escape the base. The explosion of the base produced a strong shock wave and shock wave. The entire seabed seemed to be shaking slightly. With this force, Lin Yi took Cheng Yi and Chen Dongqing and rushed to the surface of the sea like a rocket. During this process, ordinary people's lungs would explode due to the change in water pressure. However, Big Brother Feng and Cheng Yi were also cultivators, so they naturally did not have to worry about the problems caused by water pressure. This is bad. Lin Yi's divine sense had been paying close attention to the situation of the explosion behind them. The water pressure would not be dangerous, but the volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea was enough to put them in danger. The dormant volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea became active because of the explosion of the base. In an instant, two volcanoes spewed out scarlet magma from the bottom of the sea. Even the seawater could not cool down this kind of explosion. Love Go Small, say Lin Yi was shocked. He gritted his teeth and desperately floated up with the force field behind him. The volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea began to erupt continuously. The energy gathered was extremely terrifying. After mixing with the power of the base's explosion, a large area of blazing white super flames appeared. This type of flame was a weapon that could deal enough damage to Lin Yi's primordial spirit. The glasses had only used it for defense after researching it, and hadn't been able to launch a single successful attack until his death. It was only when the base self-destructed that it became the strongest attack of all. In just an instant, Lin Yi and Chen Dongqing felt the temperature of the seawater they were in rise sharply, almost reaching the level of boiling. Cheng Yi and Brother Defeng did not feel much because they had Lin Yi's protection. It turned out that burning the sky and boiling the sea was not a joke. Chen Dongqing was fine. His physical body was also considered strong. Coupled with the defense of his true qi, he could still move freely without being directly engulfed by the super flames. Lin Yi's situation was quite bad. The super flames did not directly burn his body, but just the aftermath had already caused his primordial spirit to show signs of melting. He also had to divide his divine sense to form a force field barrier to protect Cheng Yi and Brother Defeng. In an instant, the consumption increased rapidly. Even he did not know how long he could last. If he gave up Cheng Yi and Brother Defeng, Lin Yi could easily escape. However, if he did this, Lin Yi would not be himself. Not to mention Cheng Yi, even if it was Brother Defeng, he would never give up. The only good news was that with the addition of the underwater volcano, the shock wave of the explosion became stronger. The speed at which Lin Yi and the other three rose also doubled. In the blink of an eye, the four of them were pushed out of the sea by the flames and rushed into the sky. The blue sea and blue sky constantly changed in Lin Yi's eyes. The damn white flames followed closely behind Lin Yi, not letting up at all. The surface of the sea that Lin Yi and the other three had rushed out of had completely disappeared, leaving only a large amount of water vapor that continued to evaporate in the white flames. The huge amount of seawater that was thousands of meters deep and had a radius of more than 4 kilometers had been completely burned. From the sky, it looked like a bottomless sinkhole that led straight to hell. Lin Yi's consciousness was slightly blurred. This was something that had never happened since he condensed his primordial spirit. It was probably because the residual energy of the volcano and the super flame was too powerful after fusing, and the damage to him was beyond his expectations. After barely dispelling the dizziness, Lin Yi activated the 3 appearances of the Cloud Dragon and moved continuously with Cheng Yi and Defeng. At the same time, he gave Chen Dongqing, who was in the air, a kick and sent him flying. If he could, Lin Yi really wanted to sing, "I'll send you off 1,000 miles away." Unfortunately, his kick could only barely send Chen Dongqing 2 or 3 kilometers away from the range of the deep sinkhole on the sea. The place where he landed was at least seawater, although it was boiling. As for Lin Yi, he used the recoil force of this kick and the displacement of the 3 appearances of the Cloud Dragon to forcibly pull the 2 burdens in the opposite direction, avoiding the blazing white super flame that soared into the sky below. "Big brother Lin, are you okay?" Cheng Yi noticed that Lin Yi's expression was extremely ugly and could not help but ask with concern. Although they avoided the super flame head-on, a trace of the aftermath on the side still caused Lin Yi's divine sense field barrier to fluctuate violently. If he had not desperately protected it, Cheng Yi and brother Defeng would have fallen directly into the sinkhole. Chapter 57:34. At this moment, big brother Defeng, who was originally loyal to Lin Yi, swore that he would never betray Lin Yi in this life. If Lin Yi needed it, he would definitely return his life to Lin Yi. Lin Yi's face was pale and faintly translucent. This was a sign that his divine sense had been consumed too much, and his spirit was severely injured. "I'm fine, you don't have to worry. But after reaching the sea, you have to protect yourselves. I may not be able to take care of you." Lin Yi smiled indifferently. He did not seem to care about the current predicament. "Boss Lin Yi, don't worry about me. Throw me down and save your strength." Big brother Defeng shouted eagerly. At this time, even if Lin Yi threw him into the heaven flame, he would not have any complaints. Lin Yi smiled slightly and shook his head gently. He did not speak. He was now falling in a parabola with the 2 of them, which happened to be in the opposite direction of Chen Dongqing. When they fell into the sea, they would be surrounded by boiling seawater. However, Lin Yi knew very well that the explosion of the heaven flame would not last forever. When the heaven flame disappeared, the surrounding seawater would fill up the huge pit. In the sea, it would be a new tsunami. Lin Yi wanted to continue protecting the 2 of them, but his primordial spirit wasn't enough to maintain this force field barrier. Fortunately, Dafeng and Cheng Yi weren't weak. They wouldn't be crushed by this huge wave in a short period of time. Remember, if we get separated in the sea, don't panic. When the huge wave disappears, stay on the surface of the sea and don't sink. I will find you. Lin Yi calmly exhorted. He wanted to fix the 2 of them by his side, but the weakness in his spirit made him unable to care too much. A spiritual knowledge fruit was swallowed by Lin Yi, and he began to refine it with all his strength. Using the spiritual knowledge fruit to replenish the consumption of spiritual knowledge was definitely a waste of God's gift, but Lin Yi had no other way now. The remaining 2 spiritual knowledge tumors that had not been dealt with showed signs of instability at this time. If Lin Yi could not control these 2 spiritual knowledge tumors, this secular world sea might become his burial ground. If Lan Xiaoru, who self-destructed, was reborn and knew that Lin Yi would die in such a way, she would probably look up to the sky and laugh 3 times. Seeing that they were about to fall into the boiling sea, Lin Yi retracted the spiritual knowledge force field and used his true qi to add a layer of defense to the two of them. He shouted, "Don't stay here. Try to swim to the periphery. Stay awake. If you are involved in the whirlpool, remember to swim against the current." Before he finished speaking, the three of them fell into the water one after another. Compared to the flames, the boiling seawater of more than 100 degrees Celsius was no threat at all. The three of them could easily resist it. Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng did not dare to neglect. After falling into the water, they desperately swam out. After all, they were two experts, and their speed was quite fast. Lin Yi wanted to transform into his spirit state and float in the air. If Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng were in any danger, he could rescue them in time. However, a burst of dizziness made Lin Yi give up this idea. After looking in the right direction, he used his true qi to escape from this dangerous area. Most of his mind was used to refine the spiritual knowledge fruit and suppress the two spiritual knowledge tumors. After a few breaths, the three of them were 2 to 3 kilometers away from the huge pit. At this time, the explosion of the flames finally weakened. Although the heat at the bottom of the sea was still terrifying, it could not maintain the vacuum area that was thousands of meters deep. The surrounding seawater began to pour down violently, and the hot water vapor directly gathered into thick clouds in the sky. In a short period of time, the embryonic form of a storm was formed. Lin Yi and the others tried their best to escape, but under the huge slope of the seawater, they still could not help but flow back with the current. The pulling force was getting stronger and stronger. Even Lin Yi's true qi could no longer resist it. If he wanted to get rid of it, Lin Yi could only transform into his spirit state and float in the air. Unfortunately, he did not dare to make the slightest change now. If he was careless and caused the spiritual knowledge tumor to riot, it would really be over. After the seawater poured down and filled half of the space, the violent collision formed a huge whirlpool. The monstrous waves were just the ripples at the edge. The four people in the center began to spin and fall down involuntarily. Cheng Yi and Defeng, on the other hand, remembered Lin Yi's warning. They wanted to go against the current, but in front of the power of nature, their strength was insignificant. Their desperate struggle only delayed them for a few breaths of time. Chen Dongqing, who had flown in the opposite direction just now, was countless times stronger than the two of them. However, this guy was not good at swimming. In this whirlpool, his performance was not as good as Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng. When he passed by Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng for the second time, he did not even have the strength to struggle. Lin Yi wanted to do something, but he was like a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. He could not even protect himself. The only way was to go with the flow. Fortunately, the super flame had slowly subsided. If it was just the whirlpool, tsunami, and storm, it would not take their lives for a while. After this period, there would be a chance of survival. Now that he thought about it, it was really lucky that he did not get entangled in the submarine just now. Not to mention the deceptive setting of the 30-second false report. Even if he successfully left the base in the submarine, under this kind of explosion, it was likely that he would be directly vaporized by the super flame at the bottom of the sea. He might not even be able to survive in this situation. "You guys, take care of yourselves," Lin Yi said in his heart with a wry smile. His dizziness was getting worse, but he knew that once he really fainted, the divine sense cancer would immediately explode. Therefore, even if he died, he could not faint. At least before suppressing these two divine sense cancer, he absolutely could not faint. This huge whirlpool lasted for an unknown amount of time. Lin Yi's mind was completely immersed in suppressing the divine sense cancer, so he did not care too much. Anyway, he was an essence spirit, so he would not drown in the sea. Between floating and sinking, the seabed and the sea surface went back and forth several times. After the storm and tsunami, Lin Yi finally succeeded in suppressing the two divine sense cancer and opened his eyes with a tired look. Chapter 57:35. It was simply impossible to expect that the four of them would not be separated in such a violent environment, so Lin Yi was not disappointed and extended his spiritual awareness to search for traces of them. However, the next moment, Linny knew that the problem was serious. His spiritual awareness could only extend for less than a kilometer. Obviously, the previous flame had caused his consumption to reach a terrifying level. Although a spiritual awareness fruit had been swallowed, most of it was used to suppress the tumor of spiritual awareness. The remaining small half was used to make up for part of the consumption, and there was still a part that had not been refined. So at this time, even if Linny continued to swallow the spiritual awareness fruit, there would not be any better effect. Damn it! With this level of spiritual awareness search, it is impossible to find the three of them in the vast sea. I only hope that Dongqing can be okay. The range of his spiritual awareness should be large enough. As long as he is not dead, it is possible to find the three of us. Linny shook his head with a wry smile. He had not encountered such an embarrassing situation for a long time. Since there was no way to effectively search with spiritual awareness, Linny could only transform into his essence soul state and float on the sea surface. It was faster to search with his eyes. Fortunately, Linny had just flown a short distance when he found a black spot floating on the sea surface 3 or 4 kilometers away. After flying closer, he confirmed that it was Chang'e. Linny was surprised and happy. He was happy that he had finally found Chang'e. He was surprised that Chang'e was still in a coma and her breathing was extremely weak. Lin's essence soul was weak, but there was no problem with his true qi. With the jade pendant space as his backing, true qi was never something he needed to worry about. After quickly holding Chang'e's palm, Linny transferred his omnipotent true qi to check Chang'e's condition while treating her injuries. Fortunately, there is no fatal injury, just a collapse. Linny heaved a sigh of relief, but he was also a little shocked. If he hadn't discovered it early, the collapsed Chang'e might have drowned in the sea just like that. After a short while, Chang'e spat out a few mouthfuls of seawater and slowly woke up. Seeing Linny in front of her, she was overjoyed and said, "Big brother Lin, it's great that you're fine." As he spoke, he reached out and wrapped his arms around Linny's neck, hanging onto Linny's body. Linny smiled and patted Chang'e's back. "We're fine. By the way, where are Dafeng and Dongqing?" Chang'e remembered that she still had 2 companions and immediately let go of Linny. She looked around and asked. After this thrilling experience of going through thick and thin together, Chang'e felt a sense of familiarity towards these 2 strange companions, so she was naturally concerned about their safety. Linny shook his head and said, "I haven't found them yet, but they should be fine." Linny wasn't talking nonsense. The weakest among the 3 was Chang'e. Since even Chang'e could be safe and sound, how could the 2 guys fall like this? The problem was, how could Linny find the 2 of them in the vast sea? Chang'e was here, so Linny certainly couldn't leave her alone and fly around looking for them. Moreover, with Chang'e's strength, he didn't know how long she could persist in the sea. In the absence of a ship, Linny didn't know how to bring her back to the shore. Before this, even if Linny transformed into the state of spirit, it was not a big deal to fly with a person, but now it was definitely not possible. If he flew, the spiritual awareness tumor that he had just suppressed would cause trouble again. Linny also thought about flying back to the shore to find a ship to save Chang'e, but he didn't know where he was now. The range of spiritual awareness was not as far as the range of the naked eye. If he flew in the wrong direction, instead of flying to the nearest shore, he would start a journey around the earth. When he came back, it would really be too late. Unfortunately, Linny's mobile phone was not kept in the jade pendant space. He didn't know where it had sunk to in the whirlpool and tsunami. Otherwise, he could try to make a phone call or something. "Big brother Lin, do you want to find the 2 of them?" "It doesn't matter. I will wait here. You find the 2 of them first." Chang'e knew that Linny was worried about her, and he wanted to find the 2 people, so she smiled and asked Linny to find them first. Linny thought about it, and could only do so. After Chang'e woke up, there was no problem floating in the sea for a period of time. If the 2 guys also fainted because of exhaustion, they might really drown in the sea. Whether it was Brother Dafeng in the Foundation establishment stage or Dongqing in the mysterious ascension stage, drowning in the ordinary sea was a shameful thing. They would not feel at ease even if they died. Just as he was about to nod and agree, Linny suddenly had a flash of inspiration. The mobile phone was not kept in the jade pendant space, but he kept one thing in the jade pendant space. Languza's communication bead. When he was in the small Jianghu of primitive times, Languza gave this communication bead to Lin Yi so that it was convenient to contact him. Later, Languza used it once when he came to the Green Cloud sect of the North Island to pick up Lin Yi to Flood Dragon Island. Then, Lin Yi threw it in the Jade Pendant space and never took it out. After all, Languza followed Lin Yi like a tail every day. Why would he use the communication bead? What's more, after coming to the secular world, Languza preferred to play with his mobile phone. He probably forgot that there was such a bead with Lin Yi. After taking out the communication bead, Lin Yi took a deep breath and immersed the bead in the sea. To be honest, Lin Yi was also a little nervous. This might be the last chance to save Qing Yi, brother to Feng, and the others. Lin Yi could fly back, but he would never leave Qing Yi and the others alone. After all, the seawater of the boundless sea was somewhat different from the seawater of the secular world. This was not a place with abundant spiritual energy like the small Jianghu of primitive times. Lin Yi was not sure if this communication bead could still work. But in the next second, Lin Yi was relieved because the communication bead shone faintly in the seawater. Then, Languza's shadow appeared in front of Lin Yi. "Boss, where have you been? We were so worried." As soon as Languza appeared, he asked anxiously, "Oh, it's a long story. I went for a ride on the sea for a long time," Lin Yi said with a smile. The center really let Lin Yi go for a long time on the sea before. This was not nonsense. "Boss, have you rescued sister-in-law Yi? Do you want me to help?" "Don't worry, Languza, can definitely kill them all," Languza said aggressively as he stroked his arm. Chapter 5736. No problem. "Boss, wait for me. I will be there soon." After that, Languza cut off the communication. Lin Yi smiled and said to Qing Yi, "Don't worry. With Languza here, we will all be fine." Qing Yi asked curiously, "Brother Lin, is Languza stronger than you?" In her opinion, Lin Yi was the most powerful person in the world. Languza was obviously Lin Yi's little brother. How could Languza easily do what Lin Yi couldn't? Even if Lin Yi was injured, Qing Yi didn't think that Lin Yi was inferior to Languza. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's not about who is more powerful than who. It's just that if Languza is in the sea, there are very few things that he can't do. You will know when he comes over later. Well, you wait here for a while. I will fly up and look for Defeng and Chen Dongqing. Maybe I can see them." Of course, Qing Yi had no objection. Lin Yi once again transformed into his spirit form and flew hundreds of meters into the sky, overlooking the surrounding sea. Unfortunately, he couldn't find Defeng and Chen Dongqing. However, on the distant sea level, there was a white line approaching quickly. "No way. Is that Languza?" Lin Yi said with some surprise. "How long has it been? Languza can rush over?" After thinking about it, Lin Yi felt that it was normal. After all, Languza was already a real sea dragon, a genetically mutated sea dragon. His strength had reached the late stage of mysterious ascension. After changing back to his original body, Languza's speed in the sea could definitely reach several times the speed of sound. It was understandable that he could rush over so quickly. In the blink of an eye, that white line was already closing in. As expected, it was Languza's true form. He was a dragon that was more than 10 meters long. Just the waves that he had stirred up were more than 20 meters tall. "Boss, I'm coming." Before he arrived, Languza's loud voice had already sounded. Qing Yi looked at the approaching sea dragon with her mouth agape. She suddenly felt that she might be having an absurd dream. Otherwise, how could she see such a legendary sea dragon? Although he was a heaven stage cultivator, Qing Yi had never heard of a real sea dragon in the world. Lin Yi flew to the sea and said with a smile, "You came just in time. I don't know where those two guys are. Can you find them?" While talking, Lin Yi pulled Qing Yi onto Languza's broad back. In the endless sea, Languza was still a sea dragon. Lin Yi felt good riding on his back. Now that he had evolved into a sea dragon, it was even more comfortable. "Boss, don't worry. In this small pond, it's too easy to find two people," Languza said proudly. Compared to the dangerous endless sea, The ocean of the secular world was indeed only worthy of Languza's evaluation of a small pond. Linny listened to him and was completely relieved. He immediately fell on Languza's back and had a good rest. His heart was relieved, but suddenly he felt a wave of dizziness. His body leaned back, and he actually fainted. Linny didn't know how long he lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in the space of the jade pendant, and there was someone beside him who had been watching him. "Jiao Lao, you appeared again." Linny was slightly taken aback. He sat up with a smile and waved to Jiao Yazi. Jiao Yazi laughed and scolded. "What do you mean again? I've always been here. It's just that if you leave the secular world, I will disappear. When you return to the secular world, I can't appear again." Chapter 57:37. Is it because I don't want to talk to you? Isn't it because you haven't entered the space of the jade pendant and haven't thought of me at all? Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi with a smile that wasn't a smile. It sounded very reasonable. Lin Yi was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be the case. After returning from the ancient small world, he really didn't think of Jiao Yazi because he couldn't contact Jiao Yazi. Lin Yi was used to it. Jiao Yazi actually didn't care. Before Lin Yi opened the space of the jade pendant, he was used to being alone. He was just joking with Lin Yi. Speaking of which, the speed of your growth has far exceeded my expectations. In the past, I could still give you some help and advice, but now, there is really nothing I can give you. So when you return to the secular world, there is no need for me to say anything." Jiao Yazi said with a smile. Then, without waiting for Lin Yi to speak, he pointed at Lin Yi's forehead with a straight face and said, "But this time, you really disappoint me." Lin Yi was startled and said, "Jiao Lao, what do you mean?" "What do I mean? You still have the nerve to ask me what I mean. Don't tell me you haven't realized your own state?" Jiao Yazi reprimanded mercilessly. In the past, when Lin Yi was still a weak rookie, Jiao Yazi was not so strict. Lin Yi slightly frowned. Jiao Yazi's expression was obviously not to scare him. So Lin Yi immediately used his divine sense to explore the space of the jade pendant. He wanted to find out what was going on. However, Lin Yi's divine sense couldn't explore the space of the jade pendant. It could only wander in this side of the world. To put it bluntly, he had completely lost contact with the outside world. "Jiao Lao, how did this happen? How long have I been unconscious?" Lin Yi knew that things were getting serious, but he still kept his cool. In response to Lin Yi's question, Jiao Yazi only snorted and said, "Your strength is beyond this realm. I can't understand it. So how would I know what happened to you? But what I can tell you is that you've been unconscious for 10 whole days." Lin Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. He thought that he had been unconscious for 1 or 2 hours at most. He did not expect that he had been unconscious for 10 days. One had to know that Lin Yi himself was a primordial spirit. Now that his primordial spirit was in the space of the jade pendant, didn't that mean that the primordial spirit in the mortal world had completely disappeared? "Jiao Lao, in front of you, no matter how strong I am still a junior. Can we talk nicely?" Lin Yi said with a bitter smile. If he wanted to figure out the current situation, only Jiao Yazi could help him. Jiao Yazi suddenly smiled and shouted, "Do you think I'm angry with you? How is that possible? I'm just expressing my disappointment to you. Kid, you don't know how to cherish yourself, do you? This time, you almost had your soul scattered, do you know that? If you hadn't eaten a divine knowledge fruit before and had not refined a part of it, you would have been dead by now. Your primordial spirit has left your body, and you still dare to play like this. Do you really think that you are invincible in the world?" Lin Yi was a little confused. After listening to Jiao Yazi's words, he felt a little scared. It turned out that he was really close to dying. Thanks to the divine knowledge fruit that he had eaten before, he was able to preserve his last chance of survival. It was also too smooth before. Lin Yi moved with his primordial spirit. Except for a short period of time when he just came back, it was basically successful. Therefore, he himself had forgotten that the primordial spirit was actually very weak. After being attacked, it needed to bear 10 times, or even 100 times more damage than the physical body. It was quite not easy for him to still be alive now. Zhao Lao, I know I was wrong. This time, I was careless. I don't know what is my situation now. How can I leave the space of the jade pendant? Lin Yi obediently admitted his mistake. Anyway, Zhao Yazi was a teacher and a friend. In front of him, Lin Yi did not have the self-awareness of a strong person. Instead, he was more like a junior. Zhao Yazi snorted twice. It was probably because he had vented most of the depression in his heart. This was also because he was worried about Lin Yi. If it was someone else, Zhao Yazi would not care about their life and death. You want to escape after listening to my nagging? Let me tell you, it's not that easy. Although Zhao Yazi's anger had subsided a lot, he still muttered a few words and then said solemnly, Kid, you are really lucky. Originally, your primordial spirit would have completely collapsed after you lost consciousness, but because there was a remnant of the divine knowledge fruit, your primordial spirit's origin was protected. The space of the jade pendant also tried its best to pull you in, so you did not die immediately. My primordial spirit has dissipated? Lin Yi's heart shook. This was the news he was most concerned about and most unwilling to hear. Now, the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit in the space of the jade pendant was not even 6 to 7% of its peak. Even if he left the space of the jade pendant, the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit would be greatly reduced. But Zhao Yazi finally gave him a piece of good news. No, your primordial spirit is still in the outside world. I have to say, kid, your luck is really heaven-defying. Other than the divine knowledge fruit, you can also use the divine knowledge grassroot to refine your primordial spirit. Plus, you have always had perfect breakthroughs. Your primordial spirit is already far stronger than the same level cultivator. The degree of your primordial spirit's solidification is not inferior to the body of an ordinary cultivator. Chapter 57:38. There was no other way. He could only cultivate, but he didn't know how long it would take before he could communicate with the spirit in the outside world. Lin Yi sighed in his heart. He didn't want to waste any more time. He sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate his divine sense. 10 days ago, Lin Yi suddenly fainted. Although it made Qing Yi panic, Languza, Chen Dongqing, and Big Brother phone were already used to Lin Yi's invincibility. They just thought that Lin Yi consumed a lot of energy and would wake up after a short rest, so they didn't care at all. They even comforted Chang Yi. Languza's speed was extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he had already returned to the coast. He found a hidden place and transformed back into his human form. After putting on his clothes, Big Brother Feng had already gotten a business car and drove them to Lanmi. Ching Yi's concert tour was interrupted. Fortunately, it wasn't too long, so they could still continue with the original schedule. However, Lanmi and Mado were too late. They could only make an announcement to reopen it later. They would first complete Barini's and Linton's concerts according to the schedule, then arrange for these two stops. After returning to Lanmi, Lin Yi still didn't seem to be awake. After Languza checked, he didn't find any problems with Lin Yi, so he let Qing Yi and Su Shihan go do their things first. When Lin Yi woke up, he would inform them. The next day, Kang Xiaobo chartered a plane to fly back to China with everyone. He sent Lin Yi back to the villa in Songshan to recuperate, and then tried to find a way to inform Lin Dongfang and Aunt Qing. After all, Lin Yi hadn't woken up for more than a day. They were already a little uncertain. Languza and Chen Dongqing didn't expect that on the day before they returned, Shui Jianfeng's flying saucer quietly landed in a remote corner on the outskirts of Songshan. It was a large chemical plant. Since its establishment, no one knew what was produced inside, and there were no signs of human habitation within 100 miles. After Shui Jianfeng's flying saucer turned on the invisibility device, he was not afraid of being seen. In the middle of the chemical plant, the roof of an ordinary factory silently slid to two sides, revealing a huge gap. There were circles of lights inside as a guide, going deep into the underground of the factory. Shui Jianfeng's flying saucer hovered above the gap before slowly descending. This was an emergency escape route automatically arranged by the system. In fact, Shui Jianfeng himself had no idea where he was flying to. Hello, I'm Little Pure from Central Songshan Base. Welcome to the two of you. After the flying saucer came to a stop, the cabin door opened, and Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong saw the people waiting for them outside. Xiaolong paused after hearing Xiaochun's introduction. Songshan base? Could it be in Songshan? That's right. This is the outskirts of Songshan City. In terms of organization, this is the second base of the core in the secular world. Xiaochun nodded with a smile before turning sideways. Please follow me. The person in charge of our base is already waiting for you in the meeting room. Xue Jianfeng quickly caught up with a smile. Xiaochun, may I know who the person in charge of the second base is? I used to follow Dr. Glasses and Miss Lawn, but I'm not familiar with the person in charge of your base. Before we meet, we should get to know each other. Xiaolong didn't say anything as Xue Jianfeng pushed him to the back. After all, Xue Jianfeng's strength was there for all to see, and it was thanks to him that he was able to escape from the sacred center. Strictly speaking, Xiaolong's connection with the core was mostly due to Kong Mingming. Since he wasn't as good as Xue Jianfeng in every aspect, he naturally wouldn't want to compete with him. Xiaochun giggled. You'll see the person in charge soon. You'll know when you see him. There's no point in talking about it now. Come. As she spoke, Xiaochun brought the two of them onto a maglev scooter. Once they were stable, the scooter started, and in a minute or so, they arrived at the meeting room of the second base. We're here. You two, go in. Xiaochun turned around and waved at Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong. She left immediately after they got off. Xue Jianfeng knocked on the door. The doctor was dead, but the poison in his body was still there. Before he could detoxify the poison, Xue Jianfeng had to show enough respect to the person in charge of the base. Otherwise, with his temper, he would have pushed the door open a long time ago. Come in. A young man's voice came from the meeting room. Xue Jianfeng pushed the door open with a smile. Hello, I'm Xue Jianfeng from the Sacred Center, the first base. May I know your name? Xue Jianfeng didn't have to bow and scrape, but he was still very polite. The young man sat on the sofa with no intention of standing up. He pointed at the chair beside him. Have a seat. I'm the person in charge here, Jiangwen. You can call me Master One. I've heard about what happened in the first base. It wasn't easy for you two to escape, so follow me from now on. Ah, it's Master One. It's an honor to meet you. I, Xue Jianfeng, will be in your care from now on. Xue Jianfeng laughed as he expressed his willingness to follow Jiangwen. He sat down without any hesitation. He could tell that Jiangwen was just a guy a little stronger than a normal person. His strength wasn't worth mentioning at all. He subconsciously looked down on Jiangwen. Xiaolong didn't sit. He said with a face full of surprise. Master One, I know you. You're one of the 4 young masters of Songshan. My name is Xiaolong. You don't know this, but you've always been my idol. I didn't think that I'd be able to see you today. It's such an honor. I'm so excited to be able to see you often in the future and work for you. Jiangwen's face lit up. He didn't think that he'd be able to meet a fan of his today. Ha ha ha, it's all in the past. Don't mention it. Jiangwen waved his hand with a smile. His expression, however, seemed to be saying, keep talking. On his forehead. Master One, you're wrong. As one of the 4 young masters of Songshan, you've become a legend. It's a shame that I haven't heard from you these past few years. Otherwise, I'd have come to you a long time ago. Xiaolong said seriously. He didn't feel like he was lying. Chapter 5739. Jiangwen obviously liked this. He smiled and waved at Xiaolong. Come, Kong, sit down and talk. I didn't think that you, the young master of Dr. Kang's house, would know me so well. Not bad, not bad. I just happen to be lacking a capable helper here. You can follow me from now on. Xiaolong was overjoyed. He didn't have much of a foundation in the center, and his only support was Kong Mingming, who went to Sky Class Island. Now that he had a connection with Jiangwen, his status would change immediately. Thank you for your support, Master One. I, Kong, will do my best for you in the future. Xiaolong expressed his loyalty as he went over to refill Jiangwen's teacup. He had already entered the role of an assistant. If Xiaolong knew that Jiangwen's assistant had always been a scapegoat for him, who knew if he would still be so happy? Xue Jianfeng saw that Xiaolong got Jiangwen's attention with just a few words, and he felt uneasy. He sat up straight and smiled. Master One, I'm the number one under the glasses doctor. Jiang Wen waved his hand and interrupted him. I understand. I'll let you know if there's anything. Right now, our base is in the process of reviving Miss Land's clone. You don't need to do anything for now. We'll talk about it after it's done. You can go rest now. Shui Jianfeng was depressed. He didn't even want to hear what he had to say. He didn't think that after the glasses doctor's death, he, Shui Jianfeng, would be ignored like this. He couldn't even be compared to that weak chicken Zhaolong. No matter what, he, Shui Jianfeng, was still a profound ascension early-stage super expert. The fusion of the new medicine was very smooth. Even if he hadn't tried it before, he knew that he would recover quickly if he got injured in a fight. Master Wen told you to go rest first, so go rest first. I'll let you know if there's anything. Zhaolong turned to Shui Jianfeng. He was still calling him Master Shui before, but now he didn't even bother to call him by his name. Shui Jianfeng himphed and got up to leave bitterly. He wouldn't have put up with this if it weren't for the poison in his body. He didn't know if his gene cells, which could quickly recover from injuries, would be able to remove the toxin as well. It was a shame that he couldn't confirm this yet. Shui Jianfeng didn't want to offend Jiang Wen right now, but the glasses professor was still the best. If only the glasses professor could be reborn. On one side, Jiang Wen was busy reviving Lan Xiaoru. On the other side, Lin still hadn't woken up. It was already the 10th day. Kong Xiaobo and the others put down their work and gathered in the villa, waiting for Lin Yi to wake up. Unfortunately, in the current situation, it seemed that the possibility of another unconscious person in the villa was higher. No one knew that Lin Yi's consciousness had actually just woken up. Don't think that I don't know about your matters when I am in a deep sleep. Don't forget that we are connected. Once you return to the secular world, I will know everything you have experienced. Zhao Yazi narrowed his eyes and said faintly, although your growth is amazing, ask yourself, have you properly cultivated this heaven-defying cultivation method? I remember reminding you of the importance of this cultivation method before you entered the heavenly island. Lin Yi suddenly blushed with shame. Although Zhao Yazi didn't say it clearly, Lin Yi was very clear about what he was referring to. After arriving at the heavenly island, Lin Yi's improvement was indeed great, but not much of it was brought about by the heavens-stealing fortune battle art. More of it was the various opportunities that Lin Yi found, in addition to countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as his own tenacity that allowed him to reach this step. The heaven-stealing fortune battle art naturally played a role in this, but the proportion was really very small. If he casually changed a cultivation method, Lin Yi could still have the current achievements. At most he would be a little lacking in combat power. In this way, Lin Yi really underestimated the heavens-stealing fortune battle art. If he paid more attention to it, perhaps his strength could be a little stronger. She looked at Lin Yi and whispered, bad thing. You only know how to make people worry. You must be fine. Otherwise, I will kick you. Come back quickly. Lin Yi. After a while, the Will of Heaven and Okuda Island came to Tiandan Pavilion and checked on Lin Yi's condition. Then, they looked at each other and shook their heads silently. Brother, what happened to Lin Yi? Tian Chan couldn't maintain her calm anymore and asked anxiously. The Will of Heaven thought for a while and said, Sister Tian Chan, you don't have to worry. Lin Yi should be fine. Maybe it's because his soul projection has been going on for too long. It's far beyond the normal limit, so his body feels tired. He should lie down and rest for a while. Even though she was worried about Lin Yi, Tian Chan couldn't help but laugh. How could there be such a big brother? He actually said that Lin Yi's body was tired and wanted to lie down for a while. This was ridiculous. It was normal for a strong cultivator to sit in seclusion for more than 10 years. How could Lin Yi lie down for such a reason? However, from what the Will of Heaven said, Lin Yi's body should be fine. So, Tian Chan and Sydney were slightly relieved. Okuda Island also said, the Lin brothers are very healthy, and their qi and blood are extremely strong. There doesn't seem to be any problem. You can all rest assured. Maybe this is a sign that his soul is going to return. Let's wait and see. Tian Chan quickly thanked him and said, Thank you, Island Master Okuda. I'm really sorry to bother you when you're so busy. Okuda Island waved his hand and said, You're treating me like an outsider. Brother Lin E and I are not outsiders. All right, enough with the pleasantries. Take care of him. I'll go back first. The will of heaven represented Tian Shan and Sydney to send Okuda Island out. Then, the two of them set up a soundproof barrier. Okuda Island took the lead and said, Deputy Island Master, what do you think about Lin Yi's matter? There must be a problem. The will of heaven sighed. Just now, in front of Tian Shan and Sydney, he didn't dare to say much. But now, he didn't have any scruples in front of Okuda Island. Okuda Island nodded and said, Yes, although Lin Yi's qi and blood are strong, his momentum has begun to converge. This doesn't look like he's about to break through. Instead, it looks like his soul is injured. When the soul is projected, it won't cause any damage to the body. But if there's a problem with the projected soul, then the body that lost the soul will have a problem. This seems to be the case with Lin Yi. The will of heaven was silent. He also saw it, but there was nothing he could do. Now that Okuda Island confirmed his thoughts, there was nothing he could do. Let's wait and see. I hope Linny can come back on his own soon. Okuda Island sighed and cupped his fists before leaving. The will of heaven stood there for more than 10 seconds before returning to Tiandan Pavilion. Chapter 57-41. Shanghai Laner soon received a letter from Tian Shan. She had been waiting for Lin Yi's news. The primordial spirit projection had never stayed in the secular world for such a long time. It was impossible to say that she wasn't worried. On the contrary, Han Jingjing had always been full of confidence in Lin Yi. She never thought that after he went to the secular world, Lin Yi would be in any danger. Jingjing, come and read the letter from Nakajima. It's from Tian Shan. Shanghai Laner was very loyal. She didn't read the letter first, but first found Han Jingjing to share the news. After Linny left, the girls didn't stay together anymore, but their friendship deepened and deepened. They became best friends who could talk about anything and everything. When Han Jingjing heard Tian Chan's name, she immediately dropped what she was doing and ran to Shanghai Laner's side to read the letter. Linny has a problem? Shanghai Laner, who was originally in high spirits, suddenly froze. She threw the letter and ran out. Han Jingjing hurriedly pulled Shanghai Laner and said, What are you going to do? I'm going to find my grandfather. Didn't you see Tian Shan say that my grandfather might be of help? Shanghai Laner tried to shake off her arm, but she didn't get rid of it. She immediately stomped her feet and said, Calm down. Han Jingjing directly pulled Shanghai Laner over and tried to calm her down first. Senior Shangwan is of course powerful, but he may not be of any use if he goes. The will of heaven, Okuda, and these people, which one of them isn't an experienced and knowledgeable overlord? The status of any one of them won't be lower than your grandfather. Shanghai Laner thought about it and agreed. If her grandfather was of no use, what should she do? Jingjing, what do you say? I'll listen to you. Shanghai Laner was too lazy to think about it. Anyway, there was Han Jingjing, who was comparable to a supercomputer. She didn't need to use her brain. Han Jingjing didn't hesitate and said solemnly, You tell Senior Shangwan first. I'll go to Nakajima first and see what's going on. I want to go too. Wait for me. I'll ask my grandfather. I'll come soon. Shangwan Lan knew that if she wanted to leave, she needed Shangwan Tianhua's permission. So she didn't wait for Han Jingjing to agree and ran out. This time, Han Jingjing didn't hold her back. After a simple packing, it didn't take long before Shanghai Laner hurried over. Her little face was full of disappointment. My grandfather agreed to let me go, but he said that he doesn't know much about the situation in this area. If the people of Nakajima can't do anything, he won't have any countermeasures. He has something to do these 2 days. Maybe after these 2 days, my grandfather will go over and have a look. He also asked us to inform him of the situation at any time. Shanghai Laner was a little unwilling, but there was no other way. It was not easy to leave here and go to Nakajima. Han Jingjing nodded and said, In that case, let's not delay. Let's go immediately. Of course, the little princess of the North Island would use the best flying spirit beast to travel. Under the protection of the masters arranged by Shanghai Tianhua, The two quickly rushed straight to the sky and flew to Nakajima. After arriving at Tiandan Pavilion, Han Jingjing quickly saw Lin Yi, but she couldn't do anything about Lin Yi's situation. This was also expected, so there was nothing to be disappointed about. I understand. This is the only way. After looking at Lin Yi's situation, Han Jingjing said very indifferently, "What should we do?" Tian Chan hurriedly asked. She also knew how smart Han Jingjing was. Others couldn't do anything, but Han Jingjing might be able to think of a way. I want to go to the mortal world and find Brother Lin Yi's soul. I want to see what happened to him. Han Jingjing said casually. It didn't seem like she was talking about something dangerous at all. Tian Chan and Sydney shouted at the same time. No? Both of them knew the danger of spirit projection, so it was absolutely impossible for them to agree to such a thing. On the contrary, Shangguan Lan asked curiously, "Why not? If we can find junior brother Lin Yi's spirit, can't we bring him back?" "Jingjing, you are really a genius. You found the key to the problem at once." Tian Chan smiled bitterly and said, "How could it be so easy? The primordial spirit projection is already very dangerous, and there are restrictions on the strength of the projector. It must be above the nascent soul realm. With Jingjing's strength, she doesn't even have the qualifications, let alone face the dangers." Han Jingjing shook her head firmly and said, "No, I must go and see. The problem of strength is not a problem at all. I can solve it. Also, I will find a way to reduce the danger to the lowest level. According to my calculations, there is at least an 80% chance that we can go to the secular world without any harm." For some reason, Han Jingjing's words were so easy to believe. Not to mention 80%. Even if Han Jingjing said that she was 100% confident, Tian Chan felt that she would also believe it. In the end, Tian Chan also wanted to know what happened to Lin Yi in the secular world. Since Han Jingjing insisted on going and was sure that she would not be hurt, then Tian Chan seemed to have no reason to stop her. "I understand. I will go to the master of Okuda Island and ask him to help arrange a spirit projection. But Han Jingjing, you must promise me that nothing will happen to you." Tian Chan said seriously. If it was possible, she also wanted to go to the secular world to find Lin Yi. Unfortunately, she had no confidence, so she could only pin her hopes on Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing took out a soft armor from her bag and showed it to Tian Chan. Then she said solemnly, "I will be fine, because I have been preparing to die in the secular world for a long time." Before Tian Chan could speak, Sydney asked curiously, "Jingjing, what is the use of this soft armor? Does it have anything to do with spirit projection?" "That's right. Because I don't know when Brother Lin Yi will come, I have nothing to do, so I casually studied this soft armor. If I have the chance, I will go to the secular world to play with him. It just so happens that I can use it this time." Han Jingjing nodded and said. Then she pointed to a round bulge on the chest of the soft armor and said, "There is a spirit beast's inner core here. It is the key to spirit projection." Tian Chan felt it and said with some realization, "It is the inner core of a spirit beast at the peak of the nascent soul realm. You want to use this soft armor to deceive the spirit projection device and pretend to have the strength of a peak nascent soul realm cultivator?" Chapter 5742. Shangguan Laner said anxiously, "Jingjing, your cultivation is too low. Even if you go, it's useless. Let me go." Tian Chan immediately objected. "Lan you don't know the situation in the secular world. You can't even find your way there. Let me go." Tian Chan couldn't go before, but now that she saw Han Jingjing take out the soft armor, she knew that she could use it to go to the secular world. So, she immediately rushed to find Lin Yi. Han Jingjing put the armor away. "You guys don't need to fight. I'm the only one who can help Lin Yi bro this time. The others won't be able to help. I made this armor for myself, too, and you guys won't be able to use it to its fullest potential. The chances of failure are very high." Tian Chan and the others were speechless. In this aspect, Han Jingjing's talent was absolutely beyond their comprehension. Even if Han Jingjing was talking nonsense, they couldn't tell whether it was true or not. "All right, this matter is settled. Sister Tian Chan, please help me arrange the primordial spirit projection as soon as possible. I'll adjust this soft armor. Han Jingjing didn't plan to say anything else and just closed the coffin. Tian Shan and Sydney looked at each other and had no choice but to accept this fact. The primordial spirit projection was quickly arranged. Because of Lin Yi's abnormality, Okuda had long been prepared. Originally, the Will of Heaven planned to personally project his primordial spirit projection, but he was extremely unfamiliar with the secular world. Before collecting enough information, he didn't dare to act casually. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. So, when Han Jingjing said she wanted to go, she could leave immediately. However, Okuda and the others were not very optimistic about Han Jingjing's safety. Tian Shan and Sydney tried to persuade Han Jingjing again. Jingjing, why don't you let me go? Your level is a little too low. How are we going to explain it to Lin Yi if something happens? Since you can adjust this soft armor, you can definitely let me wear it, right? Tian Shan held Han Jingjing's hand, trying to convince Han Jingjing to give up on the primordial spirit projection and let her take over. Unfortunately, Han Jingjing was very determined. She shook her head and said, Sister Tian Shan, there's no need to say anything. I'm ready. Let's start. Big brother Lin Yi might be waiting for me to help him. Let's not waste time. After that, no one knew how Han Jingjing did it, but the soft armor she wore on her body emitted a faint light, and the powerful aura of the nascent soul stage slowly rose. There was no flaw at all. Okuda was also amazed. It's exactly the same as a real peak nascent soul cultivator. If I didn't know the truth, I would definitely be fooled. It seemed that it would not be a problem to hide from the primordial spirit projection device. You're indeed a genius in the aspect of refining weapons. Han Jingjing smiled slightly. She was a genius, but not a genius in refining weapons. It was just that this kind of thing was too troublesome to explain, so she let Okuda figure it out himself. Tian Xingjian nodded. That's right. This soft armor is really amazing, and it's very effective in scaring people. However, after you project your soul, you'll be weakened for a period of time. You have to be careful, find Lin Yi, and bring him back as soon as possible. Han Jingjing smiled and nodded. I'll remember. Thank you, Brother Tian, for reminding me. Let's start now. Seeing that Han Jingjing was determined, no one continued to persuade her. Instead, they gave a few words of advice. Okuda also started the primordial spirit projection device. With the soft armor as a disguise, Han Jingjing's primordial spirit easily completed the projection. After breaking through the barrier, it went directly to the secular world. Outside a small town in Europe, Han Jingjing appeared in a sparse forest, feeling a little dizzy. Her primordial spirit projection was random, so it could not accurately bring Han Jingjing to Huaxia. Instead, it brought her to Europe, which was a huge deviation. However, there was a shadow of a soft armor on Han Jingjing's primordial spirit. It was the work she used to disguise herself as a Yuanying peak. Unexpectedly, she also brought it with her. Where is this? Han Jingjing looked around her surroundings in a daze. Her divine sense was not strong, and she was not used to releasing it, so she still used it to see more. The soft armor on her body turned into a set of ordinary casual clothes, and her primordial spirit quickly transformed into a primordial spirit body. The process was so fast that if Lin Yi saw it, he would definitely be stunned. When Lin Yi came down, he had to go through untold hardships to condense a primordial spirit body, and he was almost eaten as a big tonic. Perhaps this was also the function of the soft armor. But the soft armor was originally made by Han Jingjing, which proved that she was a genius. Unfortunately, at this time, the genius beauty Han Jingjing still had a cute look on her face. She looked around in a daze and then walked slowly. The grove was not big. In a few minutes, she walked to the edge. The road that was faintly visible before was completely revealed in front of Han Jingjing. 6 kilometers in Austin? Han Jingjing looked up at a road sign on the road and thought to herself, what kind of place is this Austin? Of course, it is definitely not China, because the text on it is not Chinese. As a top student, this is not difficult for Han Jingjing. It seems that I have come to Europe. It seems that the primordial spirit projection is random. Now there is no way, Brother Lin Yi. You have to wait for me. Han Jingjing sighed, whispered a few words, and walked in the direction of Austin. Although with the help of the soft armor, Han Jingjing successfully condensed the primordial spirit body, but if she wanted to fly, it would consume too much divine sense power. Now Han Jingjing's strength has been reduced to the peak of the middle stage of heaven stage. This is still the strength that has been preserved by the blessing of the soft armor. If she flies, it is likely that she will not find Lin Yi. Han Jingjing will be passive to the heavenly island. So Han Jingjing can only go to this Austin first, and then find a way to contact the people in China. Whether it is the Liu family or Kong Xiaobo, they must be able to get her there smoothly. Lin Yi has the space of the jade pendant to carry things, but Han Jingjing only has such a soft armor and nothing else. Fortunately, the strength of the peak of the middle stage of heaven stage is also regarded as a master in the secular world. There is no need to worry too much about safety. After a few steps, in the direction behind Han Jingjing, there is a car approaching quickly. In Europe, hitchhiking is a very common thing. Han Jingjing does not want to waste her divine sense power, so she simply stood on the side of the road and stretched out her arm to give a thumbs up. Chapter 57:43. Hi, beautiful. Where are you going? A white youth in his 20s in the driver's seat greeted Han Jingjing with a smile. Judging from his attire, he was not a rich man. The Bumblebee was just an ordinary model, barely considered as a low-end car in Europe. But this guy's expression made him look like a rich second generation. It was as if he was writing on his face that he wanted to hit on her, and this was her honor. Han Jingjing slightly narrowed her eyes and revealed a harmless and innocent smile. I'm going to Ostal up ahead. Can you give me a ride? Of course, no problem. Come on, the white youth said with a warm smile. He opened the door of the front passenger seat for Han Jingjing, but Han Jingjing had already opened the door of the back seat and shrunk into it. The white youth was slightly startled. He did not say anything else and could only smile awkwardly. He leaned over to open the door of the front passenger seat and then stepped on the accelerator. My name is Johansson, beautiful. What's your name? The white youth deliberately slowed down the speed of the car. It was half as slow as when he came, so he had time to turn back and talk to Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing said lightly, You can call me Liu. Oh, by the way, please turn your head and look at the road while driving. Thank you. It was just a ride. Han Jingjing did not want to talk to this Johansson. She reminded him and turned her head to look out of the window. It only took a few minutes to travel 6 kilometers. When they arrived at Ostal, they went their separate ways. Johansson laughed and said, Liu, don't worry. My driving skills are very good. There are no cars on this road, so there will be no accident. Are you living in Ostal? Or are you looking for someone or traveling? Han Jingjing casually said, I'm just taking a stroll. Then you're in luck. I'm very familiar with Ostal. Although it's just a small place, there are still a lot of fun places. I'll be your tour guide. I promise you'll have a good time. Johansson immediately said. Han Jingjing guessed that if she said she was looking for someone, he would also say the same thing. Can I borrow your phone for a while? Han Jingjing really didn't want to talk nonsense with Johansson, so she directly borrowed his phone. In any case, it was not easy for Han Jingjing, who had no money on her, to make an international call. Johansson was secretly delighted. He thought that his handsomeness had moved Han Jingjing, and she was going to give him her number. He immediately took out his phone and handed it over, saying, Here, you can use it as you like. This is the latest model. It has only been on the market for 3 days. You know that, right? Han Jingjing casually took it, but she didn't even bother to smile. Why was he showing off the latest phone model in front of a genius like her? With her ability, any toy she made would be better than an ordinary mobile phone. Although it had been a long time since she made a call to the secular world, Han Jingjing's memory was extremely good. Naturally, she would not forget those numbers. However, after dialing, she was prompted that this phone was prohibited from making international calls. Han Jingjing was speechless. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing. It seemed that this Johansson was indeed a pauper who liked to show off. He even deliberately set up such a restriction. Forget it. I'll think of a way when I get to Ostal. After hanging up, Han Jingjing threw the phone in the front passenger seat and continued to look out the window with a calm face. In front of Lin Yi and the people she knew, She was the innocent and pure Han Jingjing. However, now that she was alone in Europe, the hidden Lu Jinghan character began to slowly awaken. When Johansson saw that Han Jingjing did not use the phone to talk to anyone, he thought that his guess was correct. She was indeed interested in him, so she gave him her phone number. Johansson secretly observed Han Jingjing's exquisite and perfect face and figure through the rearview mirror. His heart slowly began to burn. There were still about 3 kilometers to Ostal. He couldn't wait to return to the town. He simply turned the steering wheel and drove off the road, heading for the small forest at the side. Han Jingjing frowned slightly and turned to look at Johansson. "Aren't you going to Ostal? Why did you deviate from the main road?" "Dear Lu, we are all adults. Since we both have a good impression of each other, there is no need to be shy. My car is very comfortable. Of course, I will make it more comfortable for you," Johansson said with a smile. However, that kind of look made Han Jingjing want to smash his face with the sole of her shoe. Even an idiot would know what such explicit words meant. Han Jingjing said with a frosty face, "Stop the car. Otherwise, you will regret it." "Haha, Lu, you are so cute. Is it okay to do it here? You can still see a little from the road. It will be more hidden if you go in. Of course, if you like it here, it's okay. I have no opinion, and I promise you will not regret it." Johansson had a dirty smile on his face and deliberately distorted Han Jingjing's meaning. In his opinion, Han Jingjing just happened to come here to play, and she left her phone number in his phone. Obviously, she was not an old-fashioned woman. It was not a problem to bring her to play in the forest. Even if Han Jingjing was not willing, it was not up to her. Johansson's brain was now filled with lust. He desperately wanted to rape Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing suddenly quieted down and looked at Johansson coldly. If she wanted to kill this idiot, it was just a matter of moving her fingers. Even if Han Jingjing did not practice or fight, her strength was real. Johansson suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Although he did not understand, he did not want to continue driving in. Seeing that the road was already blurred, he estimated that this place was remote enough, so he simply stopped the car. After putting down the back of the front seat, Johansson turned and said with a smile, "Baby, come on. Do you want to take it off yourself, or do you want me to help you?" As he spoke, he reached out to touch Han Jingjing's pretty face. He did not even think about whether Han Jingjing would resist or not. Han Jingjing raised her eyebrows and suddenly reached out to grab Johansson's palm. She gently twisted it back. With a slight cracking sound, Johansson's palm directly turned back 180 degrees. "I said you will regret it." Han Jingjing calmly shook off Johansson's hand and wiped her hand on the seat with some disgust. She felt that touching this trash was very dirty. Chapter 57:44. Johansson suddenly thought of something and pulled out a .38 pistol from the storage compartment. He pointed it directly at Han Jingjing's forehead and shouted, "You son of a bitch! How dare you attack me? You're dead today. I'm telling you, you're definitely dead today." Han Jingjing looked at the black muzzle indifferently. The spirit was not afraid of the bullets of this kind of pistol. Even if she was not a spirit, Han Jingjing's strength was enough to easily take down this pistol at this distance, so there was nothing to worry about. Johansson gritted his teeth with a ferocious look and said, "Bitch, take off all your clothes. I'll ask you for compensation today, and then I'll deal with you." Although the pain of the fracture in his left wrist made Johansson's forehead break out in a cold sweat, he would not be reconciled if he did not have sex with Han Jingjing a few times. Han Jingjing snorted twice as a mockery of Johansson's words. Then she reached out again and grabbed his right wrist. There was another crisp sound, and the .38 pistol fell directly into Han Jingjing's hand. Johansson screamed again, sweating all over. That kind of bone-piercing pain was definitely not a joke. Looking at his pale face, it was likely that he would faint at any time. "I just wanted to teach you a lesson, but your ability to make me angry is not bad. Now you should be satisfied, right?" Han Jingjing said with a faint smile. She pinched the pistol and broke it, then threw it out of the car window. Johansson looked at Han Jingjing in fear. This girl, who was as beautiful as an angel, was simply as terrible as the devil. As compensation, I'll take your car first, as well as your cash and mobile phone. Han Jingjing didn't know how to get some money to make an international call, and it just so happened that this Johansson came to her door. Since he wanted to rob her, Han Jingjing didn't mind robbing him in return. Without waiting for Johansson to speak, Han Jingjing nimbly got to the front seat, then opened the door and kicked Johansson out. Of course, his wallet was already in Han Jingjing's hand, but Han Jingjing might have been focusing on the wallet, so she didn't pay much attention to the position when she kicked him. When Johansson flew out, he seemed to have heard the terrible sound of an egg breaking. Han Jingjing didn't care about the guy's screams. She closed the car door and drove away. Anyway, this guy shouldn't die. After a while, when he didn't feel so much pain, he could walk to the road and ask for help. Johansson was lying on the ground with cold sweat all over his forehead. His body was curled up like a shrimp, and he looked at his car in despair as it sped away. He didn't expect that a seemingly normal hunting trip would turn out like this. Han Jingjing suddenly stopped the car and stretched her hand out of the window. In her hand was a bag of white powder. This was what Johansson cared about the most, a bag of heroin. The pistol from before was placed together with the heroin. Han Jingjing happened to see it in the open storage compartment and suddenly felt that she was too kind to Johansson. Obviously, she couldn't consume so many drugs by herself. Johansson should be transporting drugs, so he had a pistol. She just didn't expect that this guy would still have the mood to look for women when transporting drugs. He really deserved it. Seeing the white powder pouring out of the transparent bag in Han Jingjing's hand and then drifting away with the wind, Johansson was completely desperate. Even the pain of his egg breaking couldn't compare to the unbearable pain of watching all this happen. Without this batch of goods, he could only hide his identity and flee. Otherwise, he would definitely die a more miserable death. After dealing with the drugs, Han Jingjing continued to drive. As for whether Johansson was dead or alive, she didn't care at all. This kind of trash would only be better for the world if he died. Austin arrived soon. Han Jingjing parked the bumblebee at a remote intersection and then took out all the euros in Johansson's wallet. The wallet was thrown under the car seat. Han Jingjing didn't plan to continue to use this car, so she didn't pull out the key. The most important thing now was to contact the people in Huaxia and figure out the situation of Linny first, and then ask someone to pick her up. The stack of notes in Johansson's wallet was about 400 or 500 euros. It seemed to be a little less for a drug dealer, but it was enough for Han Jingjing. Pushing the door open, Han Jingjing was just about to get out of the car when she found that something was wrong. This place was originally not a place where cars came and went, but now there were two cars rushing over at a very fast speed. The target was obviously Han Jingjing's bumblebee. Because of Johansson's particularity, Han Jingjing felt that she might have been targeted. She released her divine awareness a little and became more and more sure of this. The Europeans in the two cars were holding guns in their hands. The evil forces here are so rampant. They dare to come with guns in broad daylight. Han Jingjing whispered. She lowered her body and quickly rushed into the alley next to her. She was not afraid of bullets, but she was afraid of trouble. Whether these people were coming for her or not, it was the best choice to get rid of them as soon as possible. As for continuing to drive and race with them, it was not a movie. Was it necessary? Catch that woman. Don't let her run away. As soon as Han Jingjing entered the alley, someone shouted and chased after her. It was a person from one of the cars who jumped out. Another person went to check the car that Han Jingjing had abandoned and shouted, "Johansson is not here, and there is nothing left except a wallet. It really has something to do with that idiot. It's really annoying. I just wanted to hitch a ride." Why are there so many things? Han Jingjing stood on the roof of a two-story building and looked at the guys who were chasing her below. She snorted softly. The other party found her so quickly. It should be that the car had been installed with a positioning device. It was estimated that when the idiot Johansson turned into the woods, he had already been noticed by them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have found Han Jingjing so quickly. Deviating from the scheduled route meant that there was an accident. Although they returned to Ostal immediately, they didn't go to the place they had agreed to meet. It would be strange if they didn't come to investigate. Chapter 57:45. Looking at their posture, they would not stop until they found Han Jingjing. In this place, The power of these guys seemed to be very strong. No one dared to say anything with a gun in the daytime. Han Jingjing was not worried about falling into their hands. She just didn't want to waste time. So she simply sneaked into the house under her feet and found a phone to use first. Before sneaking in, Han Jingjing certainly used her divine awareness to make sure that there was no one inside. In such a close place, her divine awareness was still competent. The first call, Han Jingjing did not call back to the Liu family. Compared with the relationship with Lin Yi, the Liu family without her was far less powerful than Kong Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, and others. So Han Jingjing directly called Lai Changyi. The two had business dealings before, so she still remembered his number. After a few rings, the other side connected. "Hello, who is this?" Lai Changyi said directly in English because the number showed that it was from Europe. He thought it was someone from the Buffon family looking for him. "Lai Changyi? I'm Han Jingjing." Han Jingjing certainly had no problem communicating in English, but the two Huaxia people were on the phone. Of course, they spoke directly in Huaxia language. Lai Changyi seemed to be stunned, and then he cried out, "Han Jingjing? Lu Jinghan? No, sister-in-law, you're back too?" Lai Changyi and others certainly knew Han Jingjing's identity. Suddenly hearing Han Jingjing's voice, Lai Changyi suddenly became excited. This was the second person to come back from Heaven Stage Island besides Lin Yi. How could he not be excited? Han Jingjing did not beat around the bush. She asked directly, "Where is brother Lin Yi? Is there something wrong with him?" "Jingjing, sister-in-law, you know?" "Yes, the boss has been in a coma for more than 10 days. Although there are no scars, he just doesn't wake up." "Sister-in-law, are you in Europe now? Can you come back as soon as possible to think of a way?" Lai Changyi did not talk nonsense. He simply explained the situation and asked Han Jingjing if she could go back. At this time, Han Jingjing came back from Heaven Stage Island. There was no need to ask that she came back for Lin Yi. Otherwise, she would not ask if there was something wrong with Lin Yi. "Brother Lin Yi has been in a coma for more than 10 days? Has there been no response?" Han Jingjing frowned. It made sense that Lin Yi's main body was unconscious on Sky-class Island, since his soul had been projected to the common world. But what did it mean when his soul was unconscious in the common world? This matter seemed to be a little troublesome. Fortunately, according to Lai Changyi's words, Lin Yi's primordial spirit was fine, just unconscious. No matter what, he had to see Lin Yi first. "Lai Changyi, I'm now in a place called Aldos in Europe. Because I came back from Heaven Stage Island, I don't have anything on me. Find a way to bring me back." Han Jingjing and Lai Changyi didn't need to be polite. They were all people by Lin Yi's side. "Okay, sister-in-law, please wait a moment. I'll check it out." After Lai Changyi said that, there was a clattering sound of the keyboard, and then he said, "Sister-in-law, I've checked Aldos. It's a small town, but it's only 150 kilometers away from Lanmi. It'll take a lot of time for me to send people there. If it's convenient for you, go directly to Lanmi to find Su Shirhan and Qingyi. They should have returned to Lanmi for a concert." "Is Shirhan also in Europe?" Han Jingjing was surprised. If that was the case, it would be more convenient to go back with Su Shirhan. After all, Su Shirhan wasn't an ordinary celebrity. Yes, sister-in-law Shirhan is a guest of Cheng Yi's concert. This time, Lanmi is a makeup concert. It's a long story. Let's talk about it later. Anyway, as long as you can get to Lanmi, you can come back with sister-in-law Shirhan. You can take her private plane. You don't have to worry about anything," Lai Changyi said with certainty. With Su Shirhan's background and fame, her private plane wouldn't encounter any trouble or inspection. After thinking about it, Lai Changyi said, "If it's not convenient for you to go, then I'll contact someone to pick you up in Ostal, or I can ask sister-in-law Shirhan to go there." "It's okay. I can go there myself," Han Jingjing said casually. It was just 150 kilometers. It would only take 1 or 2 hours to get there. If Su Shirhan came, it would be a waste of time. "Well, sister-in-law Jingjing, write down their phone numbers. I'll contact them first. If possible, it's best to come back as soon as possible." Lai Changyi was also worried about Lin Yi. If Han Jingjing had a way to cure Lin Yi, of course, the sooner the better. Unfortunately, Ostal wasn't within the Buffon family's sphere of influence. Otherwise, Lai Changyi would definitely ask Kerman to send Han Jingjing back. With their partnership and Kerman's identity as half of Lai Changyi's disciple, these small things shouldn't be a problem. Han Jingjing remembered the numbers Lai Changyi gave her and hung up. She took out €100 and put it next to the phone. It was the cost of this international call. As for whether she gave too much, it wasn't something Han Jingjing needed to consider. Anyway, it was all along. It didn't matter at all. As for contacting Su Shirhan, it wouldn't be too late to wait until they reached Lanmi. Right now, she had to think of a way to get to Lanmi. Han Jingjing, who was about to leave the house, suddenly felt something was wrong. It seemed like there was a threat approaching. What could threaten her was definitely not a gun or something like that. She released her divine sense and found a middle-aged white man in black with a crossed sword in his hand. His eyes were looking straight at Han Jingjing's direction as if the wall couldn't stop him at all. Han Jingjing suddenly frowned. There was actually someone in this town who could threaten her, and he appeared in front of her so quickly. It was too much of a coincidence. But Han Jingjing wouldn't think that this was an operation specifically targeted at her. She just projected her soul from Heaven State Island. Even Okuda and the Will of Heaven didn't know that Han Jingjing would appear in Europe. It was impossible for them to specifically send someone to deal with her. This old man looks like he has some skills, but I can't see his strength level. It should be the European system. Han Jingjing thought about it and felt that there was no need to waste time, so she turned around and left the house from the other side. Chapter 57-46. The arrows in her hands did not stop as she continued to perfectly block Han Jingjing's path of advance. Unfortunately, the perfection that Hunting Bao thought was perfect was still full of flaws under Han Jingjing's terrifying calculation ability. Coupled with her superior strength, she was able to easily avoid all the arrows. Hunting Bao suddenly felt some regret. She should not have jumped down from the roof. As an archer, attacking the enemy from a high position was always the best choice. However, she had foolishly given up this advantage. She was too careless. She thought that the two of them would be able to defeat this girl. She did not expect to kick an iron plate. Unknowingly, Hunting Bao changed from advancing to retreating at an extremely fast speed. As a result, her arrows were inevitably scattered, and there were naturally more flaws. With Han Jingjing's speed and momentum, Hunting Bao was very worried that she would be caught by Han Jingjing in the next second. However, what surprised her was that Han Jingjing, who clearly had the opportunity to deal with her, suddenly changed direction again. Black Shirt, who had rushed over to help, was shocked. He thought that Han Jingjing would not be able to easily change direction with such a fast speed. However, Han Jingjing seemed to completely ignore the effect of inertia and change direction at a large angle without any difficulty. Black Shirt, who originally wanted to help Hunting Bao and sneak attack Han Jingjing, was now facing Han Jingjing head-on. The distance between the two of them continued to decrease. Hunting Bao's expression changed greatly. Only now did he understand that Han Jingjing's target had always been Black Dress. The sudden attack just now was just a feint. Not only could it disrupt her rhythm, but it could also attract Black Dress over. It was indeed a good plan. Seeing that Han Jingjing was about to face Black Shirt again, Hunting Bao could only try her best to shoot an arrow in an attempt to interfere with Han Jingjing's movement. Unfortunately, this arrow did not even touch Han Jingjing's shadow. When two enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous wins. As a veteran spirit hunter, Black Shirt was very clear of this principle. Therefore, when he realized that he had fallen into a trap, he did not have the slightest intention of retreating. Instead, he stimulated all his potential and fiercely stabbed his cross blade towards Han Jingjing's forehead. Out of all the methods of attack, stabbing in a straight line was the fastest and closest. Furthermore, both of them were approaching each other at the same time. Black Shirt even had the illusion that Han Jingjing had placed her forehead on the crossblade's tip. Then, Hei realized that it was just an illusion. Han Jingjing left him an unfathomable smile, and then disappeared in an instant. Whether it was the stab from the crossblade or the arrow from the composite bow, none of them touched Han Jingjing at all. This was because Han Jingjing had already moved to the side of Black Clothed. She casually kicked out and hit Black Clothed's leg. No matter how strong a body was, there would always be a weakness. For example, the bend of the leg. Hei, who was rushing over at full speed, did not expect that he would be kicked by Han Jingjing in this place. Before he could fully exert his strength, his kneecap was broken by a huge force. To be more precise, half of it was his own strength. Because of the sudden change, his own strength was folded, and he broke one of his legs. The black-clothed man, who had lost his center of gravity, tumbled to the side like a galloping horse, making a loud noise. His crossblade, in particular, finally broke free of his control. Han Jingjing did not stop at all. She passed by Hei and burst forth with her full speed, rushing towards Hunting Bao's position like lightning. Although Han Jingjing's speed was fast, she had held back at least 30% of her strength. Hunting Bao was completely unprepared for this sudden burst of speed. After all, she felt that Han Jingjing's previous dodging movements were already her limit. This time, Hunting Bao did not even have time to shoot another arrow. Han Jingjing had already appeared in front of her. In a moment of desperation, Hunting Bao directly used the composite bow as a weapon. She waved it and smashed it towards Han Jingjing. However, after getting close to Han Jingjing, Hunting Bao was indeed a weak chicken. Han Jingjing casually reached out and grabbed Hunting Bao's wrist that was holding the composite bow. With a little force, Hunting Bao's wrist was broken. Hunting Bao let out a soft groan. She could not bear the pain. Her body leaned back, revealing her hot body wrapped in leather. Unfortunately, Han Jingjing was not a man. Of course, she had no interest in this scene. "Who are you people? Why did you sneak attack me?" Han Jingjing asked coldly. Hunting Bao's broken wrist was still in her grasp. Because Han Jingjing was still pushing and pulling, Hunting Bao was already kneeling on the ground on one knee. Her body leaned back a lot, as if she was pulling a fully drawn bow. "I'm sorry, we were wrong. Please forgive us this once." Hunting Bao's beautiful eyes were about to tear up. She could not be bothered to answer the question and immediately began to beg for mercy. Hei, who was lying on the ground, could not get up for a moment. Her face was pale and cold sweat flowed down. She looked at Han Jingjing with a look of extreme reverence. Towards Hunting Bao's begging, she immediately acquiesced. Although Han Jingjing seemed to be busy going back and forth, the three of them had actually exchanged blows in an instant. At most, it had only been a few seconds before the entire battle was over. Answer the question, don't talk nonsense. Han Jingjing pushed back again and said coldly. Hunting Bao snorted again and hurriedly replied, "The two of us are spirit hunters, and we specialize in finding spirits that wander between heaven and earth. Many of them are evil spirits and vengeful spirits. After killing them, we collect the purest soul energy in exchange for rewards. This time, we were blind and wanted to kill you, but in the end, we offended you. Please let us go. I still have some collected soul power here. I am willing to give it to you as a token of apology." "Let me see. Don't play tricks." Although Han Jingjing did not know what soul power was, she did not reveal it. She directly asked Hunting Bao for soul power to see. Of course, Hunting Bao did not dare to play any tricks. If their strengths were similar, she would have the thought of resisting and looking for an opportunity to escape. But now, she did not have such thoughts at all. She only hoped that she could smoothly exchange her life for Han Jingjing's. Her other unrestrained hand quickly took out a jade bottle from a small pouch on her waist. She handed it to Han Jingjing and said, "This is my soul-gathering bottle. All the collected soul power is in here." Han Jingjing extended her hand and took it. She released her divine sense and scanned it. There did not seem to be any mechanism. Furthermore, when her divine sense entered the jade bottle, Han Jingjing felt that her primordial spirit was incomparably comfortable. Her thoughts were also much clearer. It seemed like this was really a good thing. Chapter 57-47. Letting go of Hunting Bao's broken wrist, Han Jingjing didn't have the intention to kill them. She flashed to Black Shirt's side and looked at him with a smile. Black Shirt sighed. He knew that he had suffered a great loss today, but who asked them to come to him? Now if he wanted to live, he could only beg for Han Jingjing's forgiveness. Without saying much, Black Shirt also took out his soul collection bottle and gave it to Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing didn't know how much soul power was in these 2 bottles, but it was at least half. Her intuition told her that these 2 bottles of soul power would definitely be helpful to Lin Yi's current situation. I'll give you these soul power. Is this the end of the matter between us? Black Shirt asked gloomily. Although the small bottle was only the size of a thumb and it was still half full, if these things were sold, they could be exchanged for millions of euros. Now that they were given to Han Jingjing for nothing, it would be strange if he was in a good mood. Han Jingjing glanced at Black Shirt faintly. Her divine sense scanned the small bag of hunting bow and him twice. After confirming that they didn't have any extra soul power, she didn't say anything more. How do I use this thing? Han Jingjing asked casually. Although she could roughly deduce it, it was better to be safe since it was related to Lin Yi. If these 2 dared to lie and harm Lin Yi, Han Jingjing didn't mind coming to Europe to turn them upside down and kill them. Black Shirt said straightforwardly, it's more complicated for ordinary people, but there's no taboo for a soul body like you. As long as you come into contact with it, you can absorb the soul power to strengthen your own soul. Many evil spirits and resentful spirits actually need to strengthen their soul power to constantly kill people. Have you deliberately killed people and then extracted the soul power of the living after they died? Han Jingjing suddenly asked. If these 2 people did the same, they were no different from evil spirits. Black Shirt shouted angrily, "We are noble spirit hunters. How could we do such a despicable thing? You should apologize to us for your ignorant words and deeds." Black Shirt. Hunting Bao walked over slowly and quickly interrupted him when he heard this. This guy really dared to say anything. Didn't he know that their lives were in the hands of others? If Han Jingjing became angry because of this, wouldn't all that soul power be wasted? He also realized that he was impulsive. He laughed dryly and said, "Forget it. Since you don't know these things, I can't blame you. Remember not to say such things casually in the future." If Lin Yi was here, he might have started interrogating if there was any more soul power. Lin Yi was never polite to people who offended him first. However, Han Jingjing's personality was much kinder, so she didn't continue to question him. Of course, Han Jingjing was also wondering if she had more soul power. If the soul power she had wasn't enough for Lin Yi, she would definitely come back to search for more. Therefore, she wouldn't kill these 2 people, but it was necessary to leave some marks. Han Jingjing quietly placed 2 secret divine sense imprints on Black Cloak and Hunting Bao's bodies. This was one of her few methods, and she had only figured it out because of her research needs. With these 2 divine sense imprints, she could find the 2 of them at any time if she needed them. If she didn't need them, it didn't matter if she never met them. Do you have a car? There weren't many people in this small town. Moreover, it was working hours during the day, so there were very few people here. However, the commotion from their fight wasn't small. Han Jingjing already wanted to leave. In addition, the power behind Johansson was also looking for Han Jingjing. If she wanted to avoid trouble, she couldn't waste any more time. Hunting Bao hurriedly nodded and said, "We do, but we only have 1 car. If you want to go somewhere, can we send you there?" It was clear that Hunting Bao didn't want to give Han Jingjing another car for free. Moreover, sending her to the place she wanted to go might allow her to better understand Han Jingjing's background. "Okay, hurry up and drive the car over." Han Jingjing was well aware of Hunting Bao's thoughts and didn't bother to expose her. It was more important to leave this place as soon as possible. Seeing the injury on Hunting Bao's hand, Han Jingjing reached out and grabbed her hand, startling her. "Let me treat you. Don't move," Han Jingjing said faintly. She directly twisted and closed Hunting Bao's wrist. Originally, she was being merciful. She didn't really break Hunting Bao's bones. It was just a dislocation. After restoring it, it was more than half healed. As for the injury on Black Cloak's leg, it was slightly more serious. Fortunately, it didn't affect his movements. Since they were going to take a car, it didn't matter. Soon, Hunting Bao drove an ordinary car. After Han Jingjing and Black Cloak got in, they left Ostal and drove in the direction of Blue Rice. On the road out of the town, there were some people in black suits checking the leaving cars. However, when they saw Black Cloak and Hunting Bao's car, they didn't stop them at all. It seemed that the status of spirit hunters in Europe was quite distinguished. Along the way, Han Jingjing didn't have the mood to talk. She was thinking about Lin Yi. Han Jingjing didn't say anything. Black Cloak and Hunting Bao didn't dare to say anything. They just sat in the front quietly. When the car entered the center of Blue Rice City, the two suddenly realized that Han Jingjing was no longer in the back seat. They weren't surprised about this. It was a very normal thing for a spirit body to be able to do this. Han Jingjing didn't want them to know that she was going to find Su Shihan and Cheng Yi, so she left without saying goodbye. At this time, the sky was getting dark. The concert was about to start. Han Jingjing sneaked into the venue and went to the backstage to find Su Shihan. She should have called first, but Johansson's phone was already thrown away by Han Jingjing. As for Black Cloak and Hunting Bao, Han Jingjing wouldn't borrow their phones. Since she was already here, she might as well go and find them. The fans of Blue Rice were very passionate. They didn't complain because of what happened last time. On the contrary, they were even more popular than last time. Han Jingjing just wanted to say that the population of Europe was actually quite big. After a few turns, she came to the backstage. Cheng Yi was talking to Su Shihan. Shiji, why isn't Han Jingjing here yet? I can't contact her. If she doesn't come after the concert, we should go back together. Chapter 57-48. I also want to go back and see Lin Yi. He's like this because of me, Cheng Yi said with self-blame. She really missed Lin Yi. Unfortunately, the schedule was arranged before she was kidnapped. She couldn't do anything about the concert, so Cheng Yi could only complete it first. Don't say that. If you say that, Lin Yi won't be happy. Okay, let's not talk anymore. I'll get people to prepare the flight first, Su Shihan said softly, and then changed the topic. Su Shihan said gently, and then changed the topic. In fact, everything on the private plane was prepared in advance. As long as she said a word, it could take off at any time. Han Jingjing heard this and directly appeared in the room. She said happily, Su Shihan, Cheng Yi, I'm very happy to see you guys, but I'm in a hurry. I won't be attending Cheng Yi's concert. Su Shihan, are you leaving now? Su Shihan and Cheng Yi both screamed and subconsciously wanted to attack. A person suddenly appeared in a closed room. Anyone would be shocked. Not to mention, both of them were focused on Lin Yi. Han Jingjing, it's you. You scared me to death. Su Shihan and Cheng Yi calmed down after seeing who it was and stopped their attack. After greeting each other, Su Shihan didn't even bother to go on stage. She directly nodded to Cheng Yi as a farewell, and then pulled Han Jingjing to the rooftop of the stadium. There was a small helicopter waiting for them. After the transfer to the airport, the private jet was already waiting for them to fly across the country. Su Shihan's private plane quickly took off from Lanmi. Han Jingjing suddenly remembered that she still had some things to bring in Beijing. So the destination was changed to Beijing City. Originally, Han Jingjing didn't want to go back to the Liu family. However, since she had to get something, she would go over and take a look when she had time. After all, she was also a member of the Liu family. It would be good to go back and take a look. Although Su Shihan wanted to see Lin Yi as soon as possible, but since Han Jingjing said that the thing in Beijing was related to saving Lin Yi, of course, she wouldn't object. However, she didn't plan to go with Han Jingjing to the Liu family. It wasn't suitable for her to go with them. Since she had decided to go back, Han Jingjing informed House Liu beforehand. So when the plane landed, the two most important figures of House Liu, Liu Tianyi and Liu Tianli, came to pick her up personally. There was also the pillar of the younger generation, Han Jingjing's brother Liu Xiaoqiao. Uncle, Dad, and little Chow, why are you all here? Seeing that her family had come to pick her up, Han Jingjing was naturally very happy, and a sincere smile appeared on her face. Jingjing, it's been a while since we've seen you. Of course we had to come see you as soon as we heard you were coming back. Tianyi said with a bright smile as he walked up to Han Jingjing and gave her a light hug. Liu Tianyi knew very well that if it wasn't for Han Jingjing's foresight, House Liu might not have been able to get on Lin Yi's ship. When Lin Yi's trust in House Liu was in crisis, and the whole House Liu might be destroyed, it was Han Jingjing who turned the tide and protected House Liu's foundation. So towards this niece of his, Han Jingjing, Lu Tianyi really liked her. It wasn't strange for him to come and pick her up personally. Thank you, uncle. Han Jingjing returned to the image of a wise and strong woman in front of House Lu. She let go of Lu Tianyi and looked at her father. Lu Tianli's eyes were filled with excitement and pride. This was his daughter. Although he had done something to tarnish his daughter's reputation, it couldn't change the blood connection between father and daughter. Father! Han Jingjing walked up with a smile and hugged Tianli. Seeing Tianli's spirit, Han Jingjing knew that he had truly turned over a new leaf, and this made her very happy. Jingjing, Daddy missed you a lot. Tianli hugged Han Jingjing, his eyes reddening. After all, this was his daughter, and he wouldn't be able to see her for a few years. It would be a lie to say that he didn't miss her. Daddy, Jingjing missed you too. Han Jingjing's eyes reddened as well. The person she worried about the most in the common world was her father. Luckily, Tianli was doing well this time, and it made her feel much better. Sis, there's still me. Lu Xiaoqiao giggled as he pointed at himself and opened his arms. Han Jingjing, of course, gave him a big hug as well. She smiled. Xiaoqiao, you're finally not that nerdy otaku anymore. I can finally relax. Otherwise, I'll be worried that you won't be able to find a wife if you're always like that. This was, of course, a joke. Lu Xiaoqiao was handsome and knowledgeable, but even if he was ugly and deformed, as long as he had the halo of being the young master of House Lu, the number of women who wanted to marry him would be enough to line up from the Lu house's gate to the suburbs of Yanjing. The family chatted for a bit before getting into the car. Lu Xiaoqiao drove himself, and Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli talked with Han Jingjing. This was definitely a treatment that only a minister or above could enjoy. Grandpa, how's your body? Han Jingjing asked about Elder Lu and learned that the old man was in good health, but he didn't care about politics anymore. He wasn't in Yanjing at the moment, either, but had gone to the south to recuperate. Lu Tianyi and the other juniors would make time to visit him every week, so the old man wouldn't feel lonely. Han Jingjing nodded, so Grandpa went to the south. Then let's not go home, let's go to the company. I need to get some stuff, and then we'll go to Songshan. So urgent? Lu Tianli said, surprised. His daughter rarely came back for a few years, and he didn't want to miss this reunion. Yeah, some things are more urgent. I'll come back after I'm done. Han Jingjing guessed that House Lu didn't know about Lin Yi's coma yet, so she didn't say it out loud. Lin Yi had enemies in the common world, and it wouldn't do Lin Yi any good if the news got out. Han Jingjing, of course, knew the gravity of the situation. Are you going to find brother-in-law? He came here once before. Lu Xiaoqiao didn't turn back, but his guess was pretty close. Han Jingjing's heart warmed. Lin Yi still remembered to visit House Lu for her, which meant that he had a place in his heart. She wanted to go back to Songshan to see Lin Yi as soon as possible. Chapter 5749. If Han Jingjing was going to look for Lin Yi, then Tianli wouldn't have a problem. Thinking of Fanjian, he wanted to plead for him. Han Jingjing frowned. Of course she knew who Fanjian was. In fact, she didn't have much of a good impression of this cousin of hers. He was just a spoiled brat, trying to distance himself from House Lu before even asking for their help when House Lu was in trouble. Now that House Lu was rich, he was rushing to help them. This type of person would never be welcomed anywhere. Dad, why did you bring him up? Han Jingjing asked curiously. It was rare for the family to get together, and bringing up someone like this would only waste time and affect their mood. Tianli laughed. He's your cousin after all. He seemed to have offended Lin Yi before. If there's a chance, you should apologize for him in front of Lin Yi. It's not a big deal. It's all for your mom's sake. Lu Xiaoqiao, who was driving, curled his lips in disdain. If it weren't for his sister, he would have beaten that Fanjian up. But since Tianli was talking, he didn't want to interrupt. Han Jingjing couldn't be bothered to ask how Fanjian offended Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's level, there was no way he would care about a small fry like this. Even Han Jingjing herself didn't care about this Fanjian. All right, I'll mention it when there's a chance, Han Jingjing said half-heartedly. The main thing right now was to wake up Lin Yi. As for Fanjian, she'll think about it when he remembers. Tianli didn't really care about Fanjian, either. If it weren't for the fact that Fanjian had come to him crying and begging for mercy, he wouldn't have mentioned this guy when he saw his daughter. Offended Lin Yi? Even if Lin Yi was his son-in-law, he wouldn't dare to offend him at all. Fanjian was the one who did this to himself, so who could he blame? Soon, the car arrived at the Liu Group skyscraper. It was already night, but the most important people of House Liu were already here. The employees who had been notified were naturally waiting respectfully in the parking lot. Han Jingjing didn't mind at all as she waved her hand to dismiss them. She then took the elevator to the top floor. Her office was still the same. In the beginning, this was Tianli's office, and after she took it over, it became hers. It was precisely because of this that Tianli had the chance to steal the information from the safe. But after Han Jingjing handed the company back to Tianli, this place was left empty by Tianli. Other than cleaning work, no one was allowed to enter. As for Liu Tianli himself, he found another room to use as his office, and so when Han Jingjing came in, she realized that it was exactly the same as before. Even the position of the furniture on the desk was exactly the same. Jingjing, I always thought that you would come back to take over the company, but I also know that you don't care about our family business at all right now, and you don't have the time to take care of the company either. But I'll always keep your office. You can come back and use it whenever you want. Tianli said with a smile after following Han Jingjing in. Han Jingjing was a little touched. She smiled. Thank you, Dad. In that case, I still have some of my old trinkets. Of course, none of them have been touched. I'll break the hands of whoever dares to take them. Tianli laughed. Han Jingjing didn't waste any time. She went into the room and opened the safe. There weren't any important documents related to the company in here, since she'd handed them all over to Tianli. What was left were the instruments and tools that Han Jingjing used for her research. Han Jingjing didn't bring anything other than a soft armor back from Sky Island. If she wanted to wake up Lin Yi, these things would be very useful. She could go buy them at the last minute, but things that she was used to would be more convenient. There were also some things that should be in the villa beside the school, but the things there were more or less the same. It wasn't as comprehensive as this place, so there was no need for her to come back. All right, I've got everything I need. I just wanted to come back to see you guys. Since you're all here, I don't need to go home. I'll come back to see you guys after I'm done with my business in Songshan. Han Jingjing was also very straightforward. She was ready to go back to the airport as soon as she got her things. They didn't know what happened in Songshan, but seeing how hurried Han Jingjing was, Liu Tianli and the others couldn't really say anything. It was something that concerned Lin Yi, and no matter how small it was still a big deal. They all knew that. Jingjing, why don't I go with you? Maybe I can be of some help? Liu Tianli asked after some thought. No matter what, going to Songshan wasn't a bad thing. Han Jingjing shook her head. No need. You guys can't help much anyways. Let's talk about it when I come back. All right, you guys don't need to send me to the airport. Just get someone to drive me. Sis, I'll be your chauffeur today, Liu Xiaoqiao said with a smile. Ever since he was young, Han Jingjing was the closest to him. Naturally, Han Jingjing wouldn't reject him. She nodded in agreement. Liu Tianli and Liu Tianli didn't want to be separated from Han Jingjing just like that, and so they decided to go with her. Han Jingjing's words were wasted. Lin Yi had told them about Han Jingjing's situation on Tianjia Island, but it was better for Han Jingjing to tell them personally than Lin Yi. And so, the way back to the airport became Han Jingjing's Tianjia Island trip report. Su Shihan's private plane landed in Donghai City at dawn, and Kang Xiaobo sent a car to pick her up and send her straight to Songshan. Luckily, Su Shihan's itinerary was kept secret. If her fans knew about it, they'd probably be stuck in the airport for half a day. When they arrived at Songshan's villa, Kang Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, Sun Jingyi, and the others were all waiting in the living room. Seeing Han Jingjing, of course, they greeted her passionately. Whether or not Lin Yi could wake up depended on Han Jingjing. They were all acquaintances, so there was no need to be polite. I'll go check on Lin Yi first. We'll talk later, Han Jingjing said with a smile as she carried her suitcase. Chapter 5750. In fact, those who were in this villa were the closest people to Lin Yi. There was really no need to be too particular. Han Jingjing didn't waste any more time, and quickly went upstairs to Lin Yi's room. Lin Yi's primordial spirit lying on the bed didn't seem to have any abnormalities on the surface. If it wasn't for the difference in the room, it would look exactly the same as Lin Yi's body on Heaven Island. Even the posture was exactly the same. Big brother Lin Yi, Jing is here. Han Jingjing rushed to the bed and put down the box in her hand. She reached out and held Lin Yi's hand and said firmly, Big brother Lin Yi, don't worry. Jingjing will definitely wake you up. Su Shihan was the second to come in. She was also very worried about Lin Yi, but seeing Han Jingjing's expression, she was too embarrassed to do the same. She could only stand by the door and watch without saying anything. She didn't continue to enter the room, and the people behind her also stopped. After Han Jingjing finished speaking, she let go of Lin Yi's hand and turned around to open the box. She took out all the tools and instruments inside one by one. Jingjing, what are you doing? Su Shihan couldn't help but ask. In fact, she wanted to ask more about Lin Yi's situation. It was just that Han Jingjing didn't seem to be doing any checks, so she didn't ask. Han Jingjing continued to put things out and said without turning her head, I just took a look. There is nothing wrong with Lin Yi's primordial spirit. Although it suffered a lot of damage, it only made Lin Yi's primordial spirit a little weaker. It shouldn't be like this. What is going on? I need to do a more detailed check. As she spoke, Han Jingjing had already started to dismantle some of the instruments and reassembled them into new ones. She also asked Kang Xiaobo to bring all the laptops, TVs, and phones in the villa for her to temporarily use as peripherals. The entire room was quickly filled with scattered components, and around Lin Yi's bed, there were 6 new pillar-shaped electronic devices. It looked a little ugly, but the people at the door didn't understand it, but they thought it was awesome. When Han Jingjing made these things, they made a lot of noise, but no one thought there was a problem. If the noise could wake up Lin Yi, they didn't mind setting off firecrackers in Lin Yi's ears all day. When the 6 electronic devices were finally connected by Han Jingjing, some messy lines began to appear on her laptop. Han Jingjing's face was slightly happy, as if she was very satisfied with the appearance of these lines. Other than Han Jingjing, no one else could understand what these lines meant. They were afraid of disturbing Han Jingjing, so they didn't dare to ask questions. They just watched quietly as Jingjing quickly typed in lines of commands on her laptop. 10 minutes later, Han Jingjing frowned and muttered, How strange! How could such a situation happen? Su Shihan immediately asked, Jingjing, what did you find out? How is it? Han Jingjing scratched her head and showed a cute expression. I'm not too sure. Lin Yi's situation is not easy to describe, so it's a little strange. Everyone was going crazy. Didn't that mean she didn't say anything? How strange was it? Why was it not easy to describe? Han Jingjing seemed to feel that it was not appropriate for her to say this, so she thought about it and continued. Let's put it this way. Lin Yi's primordial spirit indeed suffered a very serious injury. His primordial spirit's divine sense energy is continuously flowing out, but the speed is not fast. If there is no replenishment, it can still last for about a year, and after a year, it will probably completely dissipate. Su Shihan and Sun Jingyi's face paled. What was so strange about this situation? They should quickly think of a way to save Lin Yi. Jingjing, is there any way to stop this energy from flowing out? Not to mention a year, even if it's just a month, the damage to Lin Yi is very big, right? Sun Jingyi was born in a medical family, so she was very sensitive to this aspect. Han Jingjing said that Lin Yi can last for a year before it completely dissipates, which means that with each passing day, Lin Yi's injuries would worsen. A month was already very scary. Han Jingjing nodded. This is the strange part. Lin Yi's primordial spirit is losing energy, but on the other hand, there is energy coming in to replenish it. It feels like Lin Yi is cultivating on his own, but the effect isn't very good, just barely enough to keep up with the consumption. Sun Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief. This Han Jingjing was panting while talking. It really scared her. Then, could it be that Lin Yi's cultivation isn't enough to make up for the loss of energy, so he can't wake up? Didn't he have experience in self-healing before? Maybe it's the same this time. Su Shihan guessed uncertainly, but there was a hint of truth in it. Maybe so. Han Jingjing said casually, only she understood that Lin Yi's primordial spirit was different from his physical injuries. His magical qi might not be of much help to the primordial spirit's injuries, but Su Shihan's words gave Han Jingjing some ideas. Since Lin Yi's energy loss and replenishment were in a balanced state, maybe increasing the replenishment would give Lin Yi a higher chance of waking up. As for how to increase Lin Yi's energy replenishment, Han Jingjing also had a plan. She prepared 6 cylindrical electrical appliances. After some slight changes, she could form a device similar to a spirit gathering array. But this device didn't gather spiritual qi, but soul power. This was the inspiration from the 2 European spirit hunters. Since there were countless people dying every day in this world, the soul power left behind by their souls before they disappeared, if no one collected it, it would drift between heaven and earth, and after a long time, it would completely disappear. Since this was the case, why not make a device to collect this soul power for Lin Yi's use? A genius like Han Jingjing, of course, wouldn't be like the European spirit hunters, using weapons to fight with souls to collect soul power. She had 2 soul-gathering bottles. Using this as the foundation, it was very easy to make a device similar to a spirit-gathering array. Chapter 57-51. The amount of soul power in the 2 soul-gathering bottles added up was a little more than a whole bottle. They weren't sure if it was an illusion, but everyone felt that Lin Yi's primordial spirit seemed to have solidified a little. It should be the effect of the soul power. Han Jingjing felt it for a moment, and her heart was a lot more assured. She immediately started to modify the equipment, and very quickly, with the 2 soul-gathering bottles as the core, she completed the special spirit-gathering formation. Although there wasn't a lot of soul power floating around in Songshan City, these strands were equivalent to the last straw that broke the camel's back. It directly broke the balance of consumption and replenishment for Lin Yi, and the balance began to tilt in the direction that was advantageous to Lin Yi. Han Jingjing secretly let out a sigh of relief. This method was really effective, and there was also an unexpected harvest. The dissipated energy from Lin Yi's primordial spirit was mostly recovered by the spirit-gathering formation, and once again became replenishment for Lin Yi. This was equivalent to forming a virtuous cycle, and the effect was even more powerful. If this was the reason why Lin Yi was unconscious, he would probably wake up soon. If it was someone with a wicked heart, they might have started a massacre in Songshan City and seized the opportunity to collect soul power. But Han Jingjing never had such a thought, so she didn't think that she had made such a terrifying device. If the evil cultivators on Heavenly Island found out about it, it would definitely cause a huge storm of blood. In the space of the jade, Lin Yi suddenly opened his eyes in surprise. He suddenly felt that his primordial spirit's cultivation speed suddenly increased. He didn't know what happened, but this change was quite gratifying. Not only that, Lin Yi also felt that the space of the jade seemed to have a trace of energy that was beneficial to the primordial spirit's cultivation, and this wasn't the original spiritual energy in the space of the jade. Zhao Lao, what's going on? Could it be that the space of the jade has changed? With that mutated dragon Languza following him all day, it was no wonder that Lin Yi's first thought was that the space of the jade had changed. The result was naturally a merciless laugh from Jiao Yazi. Kid, did you become stupid from cultivating? Even if you changed, the space of the jade can't change. Don't think about those useless things. Hurry up and cultivate. Actually, Jiao Yazi knew that the extra energy was soul power, but he didn't point it out to Lin Yi, because Jiao Yazi didn't know where the soul power came from. Since Lin Yi's consciousness couldn't go out, Jiao Yazi also couldn't investigate the situation outside. Soul power was the power of a person's soul. It would only leak out after a person died. A normal person could only have a small amount of soul power. Don't look at the small amount that entered the space of the jade. It was at least a dozen people's worth of soul power. Because he knew this, Jiao Yazi purposely hid it. The most important thing now was to connect Lin Yi's primordial spirit with the primordial spirit in the outside world. Everything else wasn't important. It didn't matter if someone was trying to save Lin Yi. Since Jiao Yazi couldn't do anything to stop it, he just needed to let Lin Yi cultivate without any burden. At the same time, in the second central base in the outskirts of Songshan, a naked woman floated in a giant glass culture tank. Her head was connected to hundreds of tiny wires, hidden in her long hair. It was almost impossible to see if one didn't pay attention. Jiang Wen, Kang Xiaolong, and the others were all here. Their eyes wandered around the perfect body of the woman, but they didn't dare to show any perverted expressions. The woman's name was Lan Xiaoru, and there were surveillance cameras everywhere in the base. It wouldn't be good if Lan Xiaoru came looking for trouble. Memory implantation complete. Clone body fusion complete. Activated. A stiff electronic voice announced emotionlessly. Following that, the tiny wires left Lan Xiaoru's head, and the culture fluid in the culture tank was slowly emptied. When the water level was lower than Lan Xiaoru's head, she slowly opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of confusion, but it quickly cleared up. Evidently, the fusion of memories had worked, and she was completely awake. As the water level dropped, Lan Xiaoru's body slowly stabilized on the ground. The glass culture tank's sealed doors silently sprang open, and Lan Xiaoru walked out confidently, without the slightest shyness or concealment. The first thing Lan Xiaoru said when she walked out wasn't asking for clothes. She asked coldly, "Is Linny dead?" Jiang Wen waved his hand, and the two girls on the side immediately put the clothes on Lan Xiaoru. Jiang Wen bowed and said respectfully, "Respected Miss Lan, congratulations on your new life. I'm just a clone. What new life can I have? Are you cursing my original body to die?" Lan Xiaoru glanced at Jiang Wen coldly and himphed, "Is Linny dead or not?" Jiang Wen didn't expect his flattery to backfire, but he didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. Lan Xiaoru was a clone, and her identity was far superior to his, the person in charge of Base 2. He could only continue smiling. "Miss Lan is immortal, my bad. Linny hasn't appeared since the explosion, but Chung Yi is still holding a concert. I don't think he'll die that easily." Lan Xiaoru looked at the clothes she was wearing. She seemed to be satisfied with Jiang Wen's preparation, but she didn't like his report. "It's been so many days. Don't you know how to investigate? What estimate? If Chung Yi is in the mood to hold a concert, then Linny will be fine. Go find out where he is now." Chapter 57-52. Lan Xiaoru waved her hand and said, "I'll leave the matters of the secular world to you. My position is the chief scientific advisor. In the future, I will focus on improving the technological strength of the center of the secular world, so I don't have time to pay attention to these matters. You are a talent, and we have been observing you for a long time. It's time for you to come out and take charge." Naturally, Jiang Wen thanked Linny again and again with a face full of gratitude. But the two of them knew very well that this decision was made because the center's power in the common world had suffered quite a bit from Lin Yi's repeated attacks. There really wasn't anyone other than Jiang Wen who had the qualifications and experience to be the commander of the common world. Lan Xiaoru finished with Jiang Wen and turned to look at Zhao Long. The glasses doctor was killed by that traitor Dafeng, and he didn't leave a DNA sample, so there's no way to clone him. But the glasses doctor is a precious talent of the center, and there's a backup of his memories. I need to raise a young scientist to inherit the doctor's memories. Do you have any suggestions, Head Commanderin? Xiaolong's heart pounded furiously. Lan Xiaoru was talking to Jiang Wen, but her eyes were on Xiaolong. This wasn't even a hint, it was a blatant statement. He wouldn't be Xiaolong if he didn't get it. Xiaolong had already analyzed the pros and cons of this in a split second. Inheriting the glasses professor's memories would very likely cause him to lose his personality, but if that were the case, Lan Xiaoru wouldn't need to choose Xiaolong at all. She could have just picked a random young man. Since Lan Xiaoru had her eyes on Xiaolong, it was most likely because of his talent. After all, he was a young and promising doctor, and he was known as a genius. Xiaolong guessed that after inheriting the glasses doctor's memories, his personality would still be his, but the memories would be shared by both of them. It wasn't a big deal. On the other hand, Xiaolong would become one of the top figures in the common world. At the very least, he'd be one of the top 3. This was a chance that Xiaolong had been dreaming of. He'd always been jealous of his cousin, Kong Ming. He was a useless playboy, but why was he able to do so well? He, the prodigy of House Kong, was like an ant. Now that there was a chance, Xiaolong would definitely grab it. Lan Shiru didn't say anything, but Xiaolong was already prepared to say yes. Jiang Wen was a smart man, too. He only needed to glance at Lan Xiaoru to know what she was thinking. He smiled and nodded. What a coincidence. I have a suitable candidate here. At the same time, Jiang Wen reached out and pulled Xiaolong over. Miss Lan should know this Xiaolong, right? Originally, he came from the Central Sanctuary. He has the title of Doctor of Medicine, and his IQ is beyond doubt. Besides, he is Kong Mingming's brother. Speaking of which, he is one of us. It's a waste of his talent to be my assistant. What do you think, Miss Lan? Here's the chance. Xiaolong looked at Jiang Wen gratefully. He didn't wait for Lan Xiaoru to ask. Miss Lan, I've always respected Dr. Glass's knowledge. If I could inherit his memories and let him use my body to be reborn, that would be my honor. If possible, please give me this chance. Lan Xiaoru smiled and nodded in satisfaction. Very well, I'm very happy that you're willing to make such a request. Dr. Glasses would be very satisfied to have a talent like you as a vessel for his rebirth. Then it's decided. Prepare the memory inheritance immediately. The equipment was ready-made, but only Lan Xiaoru knew the password to open the memory extraction. She had to do it herself. Jiang Wen looked at Xiaolong lying on the metal table, deep in thought. Theoretically speaking, Lan Xiaoru and Dr. Glasses were both immortal existences, but Lan Xiaoru used her own DNA to duplicate a body infinitely. Dr. Glasses, on the other hand, probably didn't want to clone himself because his original body was too weak. He only backed up his memories as a means of rebirth. Now that Jiang Wen was the commander-in-chief of the common world, he had the right to preserve the possibility of rebirth for himself. He was already considering whether he should choose Lan Xiaoru's method or Dr. Glass's method. Suddenly, Jiang Wen had an idea. Perhaps he could combine the two methods and keep a copy of his memories. He wouldn't use a human body as a vessel, but a clone body instead. Of course, this clone body wouldn't be his original body. A clone with no memories at all would be more suitable as a vessel for the memory inheritance. The first name that popped into Jiang Wen's mind was Lin Yi. Jiang Wen hated Lin Yi to the bone, but in his subconscious, he really wanted to be like Lin Yi. If he could get a sample of Lin Yi's DNA and clone it, would he be as strong as Lin Yi? Jiang Wen couldn't stop himself from thinking about it. The more he thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. The only problem was, how could he get a complete copy of Lin Yi's DNA? Of course, problems could always be solved with solutions. With a plan like this, Jiang Wen believed that he could do it. Now that he was the commander-in-chief of the common world, he'd be able to think of a way to solve small problems like this. As Jiang Wen's thoughts ran wild, Xiaolong successfully inherited the doctor's memories and sat up with his hands on his messy head. Lan Xiaoru stood in front of Xiaolong, waiting for him to calm down before smiling. Xiaolong? Or should I keep using Dr. Glasses? Xiaolong put a hand on his forehead and chuckled. Miss Lan, just call me Xiaolong. I've inherited Dr. Glass's memories, but the original name sounds better. Lan Xiaoru nodded with a smile. No problem, if you like Dr. Glasses, you can change it. Xiaolong laughed and thanked Lan Xiaoru. He stood up and waved at Shui Jianfeng, who was sitting in the corner, watching coldly. Shui Jianfeng, how's the fusion? Come here and give me a check. Chapter 57-53. Xiaolong had inherited the Glasses professor's memories, and Shui Jianfeng should have been happy about it. But looking at Xiaolong's annoying face, Shui Jianfeng regretted not killing him at the bottom of the sea. But no matter how unhappy he was, he didn't dare to show it. He walked over obediently. Glasses professor, it's great that you're able to come back to life. My situation seems to be pretty good. Xiaolong frowned. Call me Professor Kong. I know you respect the professor a lot, and I'm indeed the professor's reincarnation, but I hope you remember that I'm Xiaolong now. Do you hear me? Don't let this happen again. Shui Jianfeng was getting more and more pissed off. He was a powerful practitioner at the early stage of mystic ascension, but he was being scolded mercilessly by an ant like Xiaolong. Didn't this idiot know that he could kill him with a single glance? Yes, I hear you. It won't happen again. Xue Jianfeng gave in, feeling extremely wronged. There was still poison in the center of his body. If he could get rid of the poison, he'd never let that bastard Xiaolong go. Xiaolong was satisfied with Xue Jianfeng's attitude. He picked up a scalpel and threw it to Xue Jianfeng. "Make a bigger wound for me." He wanted to cut Xue Jianfeng for fun, but Xue Jianfeng's defense wasn't something anyone could break. Even if Xiaolong used a large knife, he wouldn't be able to leave a mark on Xue Jianfeng's body, much less a scalpel. Xue Jianfeng's eyebrows twitched. He gritted his teeth and grabbed the scalpel. He made a cut on his arm, and a 30-centimeter long cut appeared. It was so deep that the bone could be seen. This guy was really cruel to himself. Xiaolong didn't care about Xue Jianfeng's feelings and expressions. He focused on the wound. Lan Xiaoru and Zhang Wen did the same. They were all looking forward to Xue Jianfeng's self-healing ability. Blood seeped out of the cut quickly, but before it could form, the cut closed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a short 10 seconds, there wasn't even a scar left on Xue Jianfeng's arm. Only traces of blood proved that there really was a wound. Xiaolong clapped his hands and laughed. It worked. Our Kong family's golden sword medicine is quite amazing. Once this new medicine is mass-produced, we will be able to form an undead army. Xue Jianfeng wiped away the bloodstains on his arm and sneered in his heart. The Kong clan's golden sword medicine was indeed not bad, but he wasn't completely clueless. He had seen the recipe, and the ingredients inside were extremely rare and precious even in the secular world. It was impossible to concoct such a medicine in large quantities. Furthermore, only Xue Jianfeng understood the pain and difficulty of fusing the medicine. Even with his early-stage profound ascension physique, he almost couldn't endure it. Build an undead army? Let's find someone who can withstand the potion's power without dying first. Once Linny died, it would be easy to deal with them. So now Lan Xiaoru must make sure that Linny was in the villa. Then, she would launch a thunderous strike and kill Lin Yi completely. Xue Jianfeng sat on the sofa indifferently, as if nothing had anything to do with him. In fact, if they wanted to investigate the villa, it was a very good plan to let Xue Jianfeng sneak in. However, Lan Xiaoru didn't want to alert the enemy, so she didn't use it. Xue Jianfeng also wouldn't take the initiative to bring it up. Although he and the guys in the center had the same position on killing Lin Yi, you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.